Hey everybody, it's Saturday night. You know what that means? The show that finally people are starting to realize it's not half bad. And people are starting to watch it. Matt, cue the music for me.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Modern Comic Mayhem. Your Saturday night's about to get a little bit crazier. As always, tonight we got with us the host of the most, Mr. Kyle, kicking us off. We got the most hated man in Star Wars, the Ben Roethlisberger of YouTube, the Happy Meal hitman, the Walmart Pokemon assassin himself, Marco.
Watch out! I'm on the hunt again. I might be at those McDonald's. I hear they're getting a second wave, bro.
At the very bottom, we got Marco's co-pilot, the best beard in the business, Mr. White Hat himself, Solo Wookie. And tonight, joining us, we want to welcome our special guest all the way from Pop Bonsai and Comic Exposure, Travis. Welcome, Travis. Thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I gotta say, Kyle, man, I'm loving those new. It's so interesting to seeing Kyle be so professional from what I've used to seeing him be on podcasts.
It's weird hearing Kyle and professional in the same sentence.
Semi-professional, get it right.
Semi-professional, yeah.
This channel, man, they beat me. That's what happens, man. They starve me. You can tell that I'm being starved by them, and I had to conform.
Well, I mean, hey, you can't be amateurs your whole life, I guess.
Wow, was that a challenge?
No, I mean, I thought that's what we were doing, but apparently we're semi-pro.
Ricky Bobby.
Hey, look, we got Dwayne already here, and we got Gonzo. What's going on tonight, good fellas? How you guys doing?
I hope Gonzo's ready for this one.
Yes. As everyone starts to file in, we got a big show for you tonight. Not only do we have Travis here, of course, that's a big deal, but we got an awesome interview with the writer behind the new hit book, Maniac of New York. Elliott Kalan will be here with us tonight, joining us in an hour. So that's great stuff there. Also, just a reminder, if you're just funneling in, we do have a drinking game that we play here every week. There's keywords here. All you got to do is scan this QR code right here on your screen with your camera to get those hidden drinking games words to play along with us. Kyle works hard on it every week to give you those words and to make sure you have a good time and drink to make the show maybe a little bit more tolerable. I think that's how we're getting better. It's because people are getting a little bit more intoxicated as they're watching the show.
Saying more of the secret words that we don't know.
Yeah. You can watch along with us as we play and get a little bit more intoxicated as the show goes on. And, you know, it just becomes a great time. So there you go. Scan that QR code right there to get the hidden drinking game words.
Let me guess. One of the words is Delato tonight. Is that what we're doing here? This is what we're doing? We're doing
here, just for you.
No, I don't need to see what it is.
It is now.
It's getting added. It's been added.
It's been added.
How didn't you do that? You had your background. Okay. Anyways.
So, Travis, before we get into our topics tonight, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit of everyone about of course, Kyle and I know you from Absolute Geek. You joining us over there quite a bit. Why don't you tell our new audience a little bit about you, your shows, and what they can expect from Comic Exposure and Pop Bonsai?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I do a couple of podcasts. One of them is called Comic Exposure. I've been doing that for about 6 years, and it's just it's not a visual podcast, just an audio podcast you can find on Spotify and iTunes and all those preferred providers. But basically what we do is we just kind of, it's a book club for comics. It started off, originally we were doing it as we were getting people on who'd never read a comic book and then reading a trade or graphic novel with them. So then we just ran out of people that we knew who hadn't read comic books. So then we just changed it to this kind of weekly comic book trade discussion. That's what we usually do, is we usually do trades or individual graphic novels. We're not really reading single issues. So it's just a place to come. And if you've read a book, and we do about an hour discussion on it. So some, podcasts, they really spend like 10 minutes on a book. You get a whole hour with us kind of going the ins and outs of the book. It's myself and my podcast partner, Josh Buckley. And then our other podcast I do with my co-pilot there is Jay Castro, who you guys know from old Couch Cruncher days. And he and I really bonded on like old punk rock music. So we have very similar tastes. So we decided to do this podcast where we look at a different topic through the lens of pop culture. So we might take the idea of hotels, right? Like hotels, and then so we'll watch 4 rooms, and then we'll read a book on hotels. We'll talk about the Hyatt House in LA, and so over 4 issues we'll kind of take an idea or theme and look at it through different pop media lenses, and then try to come up with some through lines of how things are connected. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So you have the do you have the Oprah book club version of comic books there? And then we get to do the little pop. Do we talk about like Rockstars 2, like breaking up those rooms and throwing couches out and setting them on fire and that significance?
Yeah.
Or is it more upper brow where we talk about like tea time and eating like beef Wellington with a chopped salad?
We talk about like Bono eating beef Wellington and chopped salad. No, we talk, of course, we talk about like, gluing couches to ceilings and stuff like that. So
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's not a hoity toity. It's just a couple of guys talking about pop culture because the internet doesn't have enough of that, right? So
No, it does
Need
not.
more.
It's lacking.
So where can everyone find your? You said Spotify. You guys are on iTunes, right?
Yeah, both of them have websites. So comicexposure.com has all our back catalog. Popbonsai.com has all our back catalog. So you can go there and check it out. Or again, Spotify, iTunes. I think it's pretty much most places where you can get a podcast. We are not on YouTube though. So you guys are holding that down. And that's the place to be. This is the place to be now, apparently, in the podcasting world. Yeah. You guys cleared out a little niche for yourself here.
Pioneers. It's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-professional pioneers, by the way. Semi-professional pioneers.
Marco is really emphasizing that semi-professional. He really doesn't want you guys to get too big for your britches.
No.
He's the one that keeps us in check. He's the one that the powers that be put here to keep us in check.
No.
He's our case manager.
I'm still on probation.
He's our PO. He's our parole officer.
Yeah.
We got to do randoms and shit.
Yeah. Well, listen, sometimes it goes off the rails, and then sometimes it goes off the rails. All right. Hey.
He's the guard to our guardsman.
Oh, my God. Kyle.
And
I just want to say shout out to our chat, best chat on this network, as they're literally passing Grey Poupon between each other in the chat right now. So let's go. It's gonna be
all right. Pass. No, that's his. Oh, nope, we're not doing that. All right. Hey. Also too. I think we're gonna start off with some. Are we gonna start off with some books and pickups?
Yeah, we got
reverse order. Everybody else does pickups at the end. They think that's the hook. We don't pick up good enough books to do that. So what we're gonna do is give you the books at the beginning. Yeah, I do take. Okay.
So I picked up. I know one of my books. I got. Where is they at?
That's just a perception. Marco, you think he's taking off the rails, but he's actually putting it back on the rails.
He's trying.
Yeah, that's the misconception.
And we stop him at every fucking turn that we can.
It's a tough road. All right, so who's going to go first? Is this Kyle? Kyle, we're going first.
I'll go ahead and go first. So I had mentioned yesterday that I had won the King of Black. I had bought a King of Black 1 in 5. Number 5. I think it's the 1 in 50. Let me shut off my green screen real quick.
We'll be semi-professional about this again.
Yeah, let me shut it off.
I was going to say that's a sick Yoda cover.
It is a sick Yoda, but yeah. So I had won this from. Let me give a shout out to the dudes that I got it from. Guys are pretty cool dudes. And then I also won, while we're talking about it, I had won this Berserker number 1 in 25.
125.
Nice.
And it was kind of cool. I was talking about last week was they picked my name, and I don't ever win shit. And for some reason with this dude, he's a cool dude. I've won the last couple times I've bought stuff from him. I've actually won the.
So you buy stuff and then you can win stuff too?
So every time I buy something, they put your name in a drawing.
Oh, yeah. They do that a lot. Was it on IG or was it on Facebook?
It's on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
What's it a drawing of?
Hey, hey, Travis.
Professional
wouldn't have these type of problems, right?
Get that? Yeah. Get in there, puppet master. Start controlling these boys.
All right, he's a timeout. So, Kyle, that's great. We got you on the big screen, and now you're looking at your phone.
I was trying to bring it up. I wanted to give him a shout out.
Should.
It's
Monster Comics.
It's Collector's Choice Comics.
Oh, okay.
Collector's Choice. And which one was that you got from Collector's Choice? Was it the?
I had bought the King in Black, and then I won the Berserker 125 from him.
Okay, cool. Camera's this way. All right.
It looks really cool when it's right here like this. And then the other kind of
looks like he's camping out in his tent in his backyard with his lighting scheme and his wrinkly green back wall there.
And this one really isn't a pickup, but it's just a shout out because it's just a damn fucking cool cover. It's the Batman 2 Urban Legends.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a badass cover.
Is that what that is, guys? Matina?
Yeah, it's a Matina cover. It's one of those books that it's one of my pull books. Like every time he has a cover, put it in. So what ends up happening is, why the fuck did I get this book in my pull box? Because I forget I asked for all these artists.
It's cool, man. That's good stuff. That one book, the King in Black, is really dope.
Yeah, I think it's the one. I think it's the 1 in 50. It was. I was trying to get the Lock and Key 1 in 50 the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It just got right out of my price range of buying. It was like, I think by 30 was like the most I wanted to pay for it, and it just. I think when it got to like 45, I was just like, you know what? It's just.
Did you reply in chat that you'll have cash? You'll pay in cash, 30 in cash.
Oh, he knows I pay in cash.
All right. Matt, what do you got?
I want to give a shout out to Hive Comics. Look, I know last week we talked a little bit about Kyle's horror story with mail in the package. I wanted to shout out to Hive Comics, first of all, on their awesome mailing here. This is how this cover came. Yeah, it's fingerprintless. It's my solo time to be fingerprintless. And it is missing. It's not complete because it's missing the approved by Todd, packaged by Todd slip.
You guys don't even get it right. It's fingerprint resistant, not fingerprintless.
Whatever. It's missing the package by Todd, but you open it up and it comes in a Gemini, and then upon that,
that's a new one too. Yeah, that's not a reuse.
White poly. No. You can't really see it because of my
one thing about
background.
The Hive guys is they're
all
about
the
new
background.
Shit. They're not putting little marks in there showing how many times they've been recycled. Like, I sent out 2 books.
This one.
Yep, I sent out a couple books on eBay. It was crazy. I forgot. I don't mean to get in the middle of your story, Matt, but
no, you're good.
It must have been a year ago. I put up like 3 or 4 Walking Dead books, and I just forgot they were up there. And all of a sudden, my Walking Dead books start to sell, and we had just talked about it. So I put lines in it and I shipped them out. So nice. I'm trying to see, hopefully I'm trying to see if I can get those back one day.
That's awesome. I actually have to ship out a bunch of stuff. I should do that too. I completely forgot about it. Cool. All right, Matt. So what did you get? What'd you get there?
So not only that, it comes in this awesome white poly bag right here. And it's screwing up my green screen. But let me shut it off here. Let me pull a Kyle. Oh, that's not my camera. Let me shut off my green screen here real quick. Just to show the book. I got my Spider Shadow variant from them that we ordered from them. Beautiful book. Comes in a Mylar. Definitely love the way they package their stuff. So top notch. All thumbs up. 10 out of 10 for the boys over at Hive Comics.
They do a good job.
So good stuff.
I was getting nervous because Matt's like, yeah, man, I'm getting my book tomorrow. And I was like, man, the tracking hasn't even been updated on mine yet. So Matt finally got his in the mail. Mine got updated today. I don't get it until the 24th.
Oh, what kind of respect is that?
I just don't think of the Hive guys the same way anymore as I used to.
They know where the real talent on this show is. They know who to make sure gets their book first.
It looks like it.
All right, is that what you got?
That's it. That's all my pickups for this week.
Hey, Ed, thanks for the algorithm. Oh, wait, that's a tent. Thanks for the algorithm. We appreciate it, Ed. Always good. Hey, JJ. All right, so I got a couple. These are the ones we've been doing a big move because we're going to do some grading stuff. I think we're going to talk a bit later with that with Kyle too. But what do I got here? Okay, so this is a weird book. I buy it because it's weird, and these are 50-cent books. I didn't really pay anything for them, but when I see something like this, like the old school Kool-Aid, this is number 4. But I always pick these up. See Travis likes it because the pop culture references there. Also, too, they did these reprints in like the 70s of the Fantastic Four. Now they're nothing that great. You can still find them maybe in dollar bins. I found them in 50-cent bins, but I find them because when Fantastic Four gets popular again, I don't understand it. Look, guys,
what did you just find in a 50-cent bin?
These the reprints. The first reprints of these. There's like the reprint. Nice, it's swipe covers. It's not even a reprint. It's just they're the first homage covers that they did on the Fantastic Four series. So like there's a whole run of them. There's like 10 of them. So it's the stories aren't that important or anything like that, but it's like those are actually the swipes. And I did the same thing with the X-Men, but are the reprints of it. But like when they become popular again, when those series actually take off, which they will because they're coming out with the Fantastic Four, X-Men, those are probably something that people are going to be looking for, no longer dollars. I mean, I think we learned this lesson with like Venom, Lethal Protector, and stuff like that, where like it's a $1 book, but like people for some reason they don't care about print runs, they don't care about anything, they just want to own that crap. So you can sell it to them for a pretty decent penny. The other thing I bought, and I'm sorry he's not here, but my man. So I buy these two, and I buy a lot of them in runs, but a lot of the new 52 stuff. So number 2, everybody's always looking for 1 and 6, but 3 and 7. You got a couple different first appearances in there. 7's the Bluebird, like that's the first full. You got the team up in which one's the team up? 3's the team up of the Owls, and then 1 and 2 you got Talon. So for like 50 cents. That new 52 stuff. And honestly, if you could put out I know like 1 and 16, right? Whatever. But if you can get the rest of the run, if you could still get them for 50 cents, it's a good idea because a lot of those fans, those DC fanboys, will buy that stuff to keep their runs going. Also, I don't know why I always buy this, but if it's 50 cents and it's part of the Hush story, I'll just buy it. I don't know. Vault of Evil. Not the best cover of all time, but some of these early Marvel sci-fi, the 70, 80 stuff is picking up, and some of it's got really cool covers. And I get it. I'm bending the book right now, but whatever. I've seen worse.
How dare you?
Shazam. Self-explanatory. So this book is interesting. The reason why I got this one, if you look, I should take it out. I probably should, but square bound, right? But like, look at the square bounding. This looks brand new. This has actually got 90 potential on it. So for $1, square bound, X-Men 100 series has got Storm in it, has got Dracula series in it, has got actually somebody dies in it, and Kitty in it. Those square bound ones are hard to get high grade. And then this, $2.
It's like a sore Peter. You just can't beat it.
So
I'm gonna remove myself for that. Hold on.
That was awesome. That wasn't good. That wasn't good.
That was great.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I got for it. I know. Kyle wanted to do something where are we doing that, Kyle? Where you're gonna show some books and say like, "Hey, I send some stuff."
Yeah. So what Matt and I are talking about is we're not big getting our books graded kind of guys, but once in a while we talk about getting books graded. So Matt and I are going to send some books off, and I don't have a lot of money, so I was just going to send a few off. So I have 10 or 11, and I only want to send 4 or 5 off. So I figured it would be good let's talk about what books I should send off first and what I shouldn't send off or whatever, Yeah. Yes, I send everything to PGX, Dwayne.
That's how you should do it. You should take the public opinion of the MCM group chat to decide what books you're going to grade and what books you shouldn't grade.
Hey, Ultra, how's it going?
I think that's a perfect way to do it. You let the masses decide.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So I'm going to shut my green screen off again.
I think maybe we should come up with some sort of decision-making process to this, like the criteria you would use. Like we're going to have to do emotional attachment. What's your likelihood of doing a reread? All these things need to factor in here. I'll make a list. I'm going to make a list of this, guys. We're going to make this official.
Good. I like this already.
Maybe return on investment or
so nothing. This is all for my personal. It's
so it's all PC. And how many are you planning on sending in?
I've got.
What are you budgeted for?
4 or 5.
They have all the same error, so we're going to pay the same amount. We're paying the same amount. It's all going under the same grading tier, correct?
Yeah. So I've got I think some of them might go golden, silver, maybe.
So we got to rank the ones within the ranking. Oh God, Kyle, Jesus!
I know I'm screwing it all up for everybody. So what I'll do is I'll make a quick run through of them, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about them. So first, I got Batman Adventures 12. I've got Teen Titans 2.
Okay.
I got Iron Man 1.
Nice.
I'm going to do Spider-Man 129.
All in top loader, so throw them down a little harder.
I am Batman 232.
Excellent.
Spider-Man 238.
No stamp.
Hold on. It's got a fucking stamp.
Don't take it out. Don't
you
take it out.
better
Don't
put
take it out.
gloves
No.
on.
Wear your
Glove
fucking
it.
white gloves.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I just read comic books. I've got ASM 252. Because of the Hot 10 list last week, I've got a nice 9.8 contention Teen Titans 44.
9-4.
Teen Titans 12. I've got New Mutants 98. And I got Flash 197.
Reverse line. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So out of these ones, I want to send 4, and then I've got a few that I want to send to CBCS because they've already been. Oh, don't you fucking tempt me! Don't you tempt me!
You'd be a legend to pull the stamp out live on the show.
I want to see you glue a stamp back. We should buy a book. Anybody finds a book that has a stamp missing, and anybody finds a stamp reasonably priced on both of those, let us know, and we'll try to glue one back in and submit it. See what happens.
Okay, so we got Joe. He's saying
I'll put it
Iron
back.
Man 1.
Yes,
ASM
of course.
129 and Iron Man 1.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question, Kyle. When you get them graded and you get them back, do you display your graded books?
Sometimes I do. Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that could possibly be a factor. Like, are we looking at these covers? Which covers would look good above your fireplace,
So what
your
I like,
mantle, in your tent, your bomb shelter? There?
Yes, comics are fun. Steve Boy Kyle does handle his books like a 50-cent prostitute, hard and fast.
so good thing I keep them in top loaders.
Also, let me ask you a question too. A second follow-up question: which of those books are you most genuinely curious about? Like, I wonder what this is going to grade. As far as like
the ones I'm curious about are my
I grade that.
BA12. I'm really curious about what this is.
That one's definitely a good book, man. That one's going up every day.
See, and then I'm definitely curious about this one.
what do you think grading it on your own? What would you give that?
This is PC though, folks. You got to remember this is PC, so he's not grading this to resell it or value on that.
No,
Okay.
it's just.
So
because
you're right. I think that's what Travis is getting at. Yeah, these things are going to hang on the wall. So which ones do you think would look good hanging on the like? I think you got 3 there already. I think that are pretty solid. I'm with Joe on ASM 129. I am with him with Iron Man 1. I would throw the Batman.
I like that
Adventures-
Punisher. I like
Knowing
that Punisher
Kyle the
cover.
way I do, I'm going to negate AS 129 because he's going to have a fucking heart attack to have that book leave his personal collection. Having that book go through the mail and leave his house, the dude's going to have a heart attack.
Make sure you put
R.I.P. Kyle if he actually sends that book out because he's not going to make it till it gets returned.
Well, this is what you do. You take pictures, legitimate pictures, and I'll write you up something that says that I graded it at a 9.6, and then you send it out there. And the worst case scenario is it gets trashed and you lose it. But then you can get the equivalent of the value of what I appraised at a 9.6 is, and it's very easy to use because you can go on to certain apps and everything else, take the average price of that, you'll insure for that amount of money, then you can buy yourself maybe like a raw 6. That's what you should do. Because what do you got, a 5 there?
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, because I could tell by looking on the internet what grades are. I mean, it's really easy.
So it's.
No, that's all right.
That's pretty clean.
It's
That's
not
not
a
too
bad-
bad.
I can't tell with the plastic.
It's.
What do you mean it's not too solo? How can you tell? There's like 10-year-old
Well,
freaking
Yeah,
bags
but
on that thing.
I've seen books that of that 129 that are just destroyed, man. They're just hammered
So-
dog shit.
It's got. So on the back, there's a little bit of.
you can see that left corner too.
Oh
See
yeah,
this
Yeah,
here?
pop
definitely
through.
needs some.
That's all right.
cleaning.
That's stained. That's
It can. It could really use
Open
a
it up.
press. So the pages-
Slower, Kyle. Slow.
Slow.
Nice. That's it. Bring it up.
What
a
do you
little
think
bit
you're
more.
gonna get on
Yeah.
this? No, you're fine.
I'm thinking it's if it gets a press. Without a press, I think maybe a 6.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Maybe a 6.5. I think
I didn't really get to see much of it, but
I think with the press.
What's that left corner on the outside looking like? Are all the pages got that on the top? Back, other side. Back. Flip it around. Back side.
My side. I'm sorry.
There you go. Top corner down. Over. Oh, better than I thought. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm submitting that book. I vote for that book.
I like the back of that book. Can you request that they seal it and grade it, and the backside is on display?
You just flip it around. You can just flip it around.
That Evil Knievel is dope.
Yeah, you can flip it around. You could just display it on the backside the whole time.
Yeah,
and then see what it is.
Yeah. So I haven't really been a big press and cleaner guy because it never seems to have prevailed for me. But
if you go to the right people and they take the good time, you pay them right. I mean, that's a book you definitely want to clean and press before you send, and because you want to get everything.
You want to get all the gloss off that book. That's what you want to do. You want to send it to somebody to make sure they get all the gloss off. Okay, and then after you do that, then you want to have them tell you that's probably about an 8.0. And then what happens is after you submit it in there, you want to get it back, and it's going to come back like a 5. Maybe a 4.5, and then you're going to say what happened, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just missed it. What's the grader?" Then they're going to ask you what the grader notes are on it, and then everybody in here should say you could get a better presser. You should crack it and then regrade it. That's what you should do. You should definitely. That's some good advice. That's very good advice. I agree.
Did you just give yourself advice, or did you give me advice?
No, I think this is hilarious.
I thought he was doing a monologue. I thought he was like, you put like a New York accent on that. You could put that in a movie.
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, here's what you're gonna do. Okay, you're gonna go over there. You're gonna bring your book in there. You're gonna get a press. You got to find a good guy. I know a guy downtown. He's great.
I've got a guy that can help you out here.
He's gonna tell you. Look, I'm the best presser around. Yeah. He's gonna charge you what? $10 a book, $5, $8, but he's gonna cost you shipping. So this is what he's gonna do. So then you tell him, look, I just want you to get the right insurance, but then I want to make it cheaper because he's gonna charge you $10 instead of $8. Yeah. And you gotta say, hey, look, and then it's gonna come back, and the grade's not gonna be the grade. And then
you start to get a little Joe Pesci at that. He can tell you $2, and you come back and you say, go get your fucking shine box, come back and see me. We'll take care of you.
No, that's a good book. Just submit it. Don't fucking I think you should submit it. I think you should just submit it as is and stop touching it. That's my best advice is people fondle the book 20 times.
Stop
and then
picking at it.
They go, hey, we should really press and clean this while they're doing this one. While they're this book right here, we should really press and clean this. And
I should really try the $20 on page 4 thing.
Yeah. That too. Don't put the books. You know what you should do? This is a little advice that I will give people seriously. You should take the books and you should put one modern on top and one really shitty book on bottom. Real shitty book on bottom.
Okay.
So submit 7 books.
So maybe my modern should be maybe the Teen Titans 12 then.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind that it doesn't come back as a 9.8. What they're going to do is they're going to take your books and they're going to put them in a stack. And then they're going to take this big rubber band and they're going to take this printout sheet and they're going to put the printout sheet on top of it. They're going to take this big rubber band and they're going to take the rubber band and put it around all your books. And then what's going to happen is the top of your book is going to get a little pressed down. And if it's even close, no matter if they press it or not, you get bounced back. It's going to add a tick into your book. It's going to add in the top. It's going to add in the bottom. Those 2 books aren't going to come back with the grade you want. Just telling you. Maybe not though. Maybe it's right. Maybe just send it out to Joe Pesci. Have him shine your box. And
you got a guy that can help you.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
I don't know. I don't submit too many books. I don't know. I got a presser though.
Hit it with the tire iron.
Okay, so what else? Have we gotten 5 books? Have we gotten 5 books out of this yet? I think we're still at 2.
We're at 2.
Yeah.
So Iron Man 1 for sure.
Okay.
No. You said I thought it was Iron Man 1, Batman Adventures 12, and we're at.
Only 2 people.
The only ones I've seen are Iron Man or Iron
Everybody
Man
else said press and clean. The whole chat says press and clean. Doesn't choose the book. Just press and clean it all. Don't worry about bounce back, bro. All right. What do we got?
Okay, so definitely for sure, this one's gonna get.
Yes, I think that's.
We got one.
Yeah,
put it in the go stack.
So we got.
I'm not doing it, Joe.
And then I think we were talking about this one as well.
Yes. Good. Make sure.
What do you think that one will come back? That one looks pretty good.
I think it's about the same. I think it's going to come back at maybe a 6, a 5, a 5.5 to a 6.
Nice. No, that's nice.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Are you kidding me? And it looks. Look, this is the problem. You're going to hang these anyways. So at the bottom line is the cover clean.
Is Iron Man 1, Batman 12, ASM 129.
I'm with Dwayne. Me and Dwayne are on the same for those 3.
Okay, so we're up to 5, and this one I think will come back maybe a 9 without a press, maybe a 9.
That's cool.
Kyle's like a little kid right now.
Hey, I think you should submit the Teen Titans and then just sell it if you give them back 9.8. If not, crack it and resend
This
it.
one?
Oh no, the other one, the 13. Sell that because then you can get all the money for the rest of the books to grade. Yeah.
Okay.
That's still a thing, huh? Okay.
I think it'll be a thing for a little bit.
All right.
And I already have a 9.8 of this. So
Yeah, isn't it signed?
it's signed by it's signed.
Was
by
it a
Marvel
9.8 before you slammed it on the table, or was it 9.8 after you slammed it on the table?
Both.
It's
It
dropped.
was actually
Press and clean will take that right out. Okay. What's up?
Shit'll buff out.
but this is
What's the color
Actually-
scheme? What's the color scheme of the room you're going to display these in? You got a nice couch? Is it floral pattern? What are we talking here? We doing
Have you
dark?
seen this man's curtains?
I was thinking about
Nice.
Oh, I think that the Teen Titan cover is going to look nice with that. I think that orange is going to make that pop, make it look a little less like Grandma's Dungeon in there.
Grandma's dungeon.
All right. So wait, are we no? What's our other options? Can we go back?
okay.
We have
So we
3
got,
books.
So
Choose
we've got okay,
Choose
so
3
we've
DC
got-
books for us to choose between. That one. What's the other
DC?
Titans book here? Yeah, do the 3 Titans book. Let's do the 3 Titans books. Let's choose one Titan book.
So I've got
That's how you know Kyle's professional. He's got a green screen of a green screen.
so for my DC books.
Kyle's
I
starring in
have-
Aladdin.
All right, go.
So I have 44, Teen Titans 2, Flash, and Batman 232 are my DC books.
I think 232.
Okay, I'll put this in the maybe pile.
No. I don't like that fucking book. I mean, I
do. It's been one of my
They-
grails for a long time.
if it's your grail, then grade it. Yeah, then
Yeah.
What? Great. What are you kidding me? Grade it.
Got to
But
grade the grail.
It's a dog book. It's like you should take it out back and shoot it. But slam it on the table again, just for one.
So, okay, so now we're up to that's it. That's 5.
What did we lose? What did we lose out? Let's see if we got losers that we might want to put back in.
Okay, so I got this Flash 197,
I like that. I like that
Teen
book.
Titans 2,
I like that book too.
I do like that book.
Teen Titans 44,
I like to sell that book.
Mr. Robbie L.
That's a piece of
himself.
trash. But sell that. Sell trash.
Yeah.
Got 252.
Oh no! Put that. Take out something. Oh no! With Marvel stamp. That's
Yeah.
it. That's
See.
it. Okay.
It's got the
Give us
tattoos.
the 5 again. Give us the 5 again. Give us the 5 again.
I think
Bring out the 5. Show
I
them
think I
around.
send
I
all
told you this
3
was
of
gonna
those
be hard.
ASMs.
No, get rid of that one. Garbage.
Okay,
no.
so
Get rid of the next one. It shouldn't be in there. Are you kidding me with that?
Yeah.
Get rid of that Teen Titans. All right, put in. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Does everybody chat say yes?
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. 5. Yes. Absolutely. What do we got? Let's see the 5.
now, hold on. Let me move everything else. I should sell the New Mutants just to pay for everything.
Oh yeah, it's tattoos, not the stamp. Yeah. Tech boy got it right.
Yeah, I did already use the tattoos. Pull it right there. BA12, Iron Man 1,
Mhm.
Spider-Man 129.
That's what I would do.
All 5. So that's
what I
what's going to CGC.
Yes, and yes. We got yes. We got it done. We've got 3 votes. Anybody else have any opinion on this?
I think it's solid.
I think it's solid.
The only one, the Raza Gould, I think you'd have to debate putting that in for something else. That's because that's a personal grail so you might want to try to. I don't know which book. If you were to pick one book to pull out of there, let's go around. If you were to pick one book out so you could put in the Raza Gould, which one would you pull out?
I don't pull out ever.
I would do first. What I would take out is Matt.
I feel honored. I got my first removal.
I think it would be a toss-up. You know what? I think I would do 252 is what I would take out.
Yeah, I could see that. Solo says no. Solo, which book would you take out? You got to take out one. Which would you take out?
I'm not sure that I'd pick necessarily the book
Kyle.
in there. I would have picked a couple different ones.
Okay, what books did you pick?
I like them. I'd have done the Batgirl first appearance of Harley. I'd have done all 3 of those ASMs,
which is what we did.
I think I'd have probably done the first Batman Who Laughs, but that would only be so I could sell it and pay for all the other stuff.
The first Batman Who Laughs?
Batman Who Laughs, that Teen Titans 12.
Yeah.
But that would, for me personally, I'd have done it just so I could turn around and sell it and pay for a bunch of others. I probably would have already sold the New Mutants 98 just to help pay for the others, and I don't care about that book.
Yeah, but we're trying to help him out with his personal stuff. We're not trying to.
I love the Ra's al Ghul cover.
Eric says, take out that tattoo book and put in that Liefeld Beauty.
I probably would have sent one of. You already have a 9.8 of the one Teen Titans. What is it? 352? I can't remember.
44.
I'd have probably sent the other one because they're going to look and present really well on your wall together, especially with the one signed. But that's me. They're not my books. You do you.
I think the math is messing Marco up. I do you.
No, he said 3. You said 3. You said 3 ASMs.
His brain just died.
You said the tattoo. So we're supposed to have 5 books. You said the Harley Quinn, right? BA. All right. And then you said to do the Teen Titans 13. Then you said to do. What else did you say? What else did you say to do?
I'd have said that.
He
said Liefeld book to sell it.
This one.
And then he said Titans.
I would have sold the Liefeld Raw though, the New Mutants, to pay for the other ones.
Okay,
so
good.
I could send more for grading.
I think this was what his was. So it was 6. He picked 6.
Okay,
which isn't bad. It's still pretty close. I could see sending an extra.
We're supposed to send in 5. We only got money for 5. Okay, Matt, what do you got?
Number 1 rule: stick with your budget.
Me, it's a little bit easier decision for me, other than Kyle's debacle over there. Turn off my screen again.
Wait.
What I like how you marked it. You say wait, and then you muted yourself.
I said no. I said, Travis, do you want to have the input in the 5 books of Kyle should submit or no? I saw you writing down notes.
Oh no, I was looking at. So we're looking at display quality. Which ones are not going for resale, right? So we're really looking at personal preference and display quality. I would get rid of that Batgirl. I don't really like the cover on that one. I don't think it was. I'm just not really a fan of that art style.
Purple's nice,
but yeah, purple is nice. But you know what I say, Kyle? Go with this. Go right here. Go with your little heart light, man. That's what I want you to do. And ultimately, it comes down to you. You know, you're the ones got to shell out that money. I also think, Kyle, I like the way you displayed them. It had pageantry. It was kind of at moments it felt like a weird casting call, honestly, when you're kind of holding them up with the creepy smile. But in general, I give that display like a 10.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going. Avengers Annual 10. First Rogue. I'm going ASM 50. First Kingpin. This book. I think the Avengers 10 maybe a 7.5. It's not the best copy. The ISM 50 is probably a 4, maybe a 5.
The Avengers was super affordable though.
It was Solo. Got to give shout out for Solo for hooking that one up. The ASM 50 is a little beat up, but I'm a more of a I don't really care about the grade as I own the book, whatever grade it's in. So I like just being able to say, hey, I own that book. But these old ASM books, man, they're getting up there in age, and you want to preserve them. And so it's worth getting them graded, I think, no matter the grade. Yeah. Gonna do 361, ASM 361. First Carnage. This is a hot 9.8 candidate. Beautiful book. Beautiful white pages. This is easily.
Those are tough, man. People who send those in normally don't get that 9.8. That's a tough book.
I hope many. Hot 9.8 candidate. I mean, personal note, I paid $125 and I got 361, 362, and 363. So
very good deal. Very good job.
We'll see. We'll see what pulls with that. Then there's one that I want the chat's opinion on.
You're not selling either. This is just PC.
No, this is all PC. Yep.
Then who
not
cares what that book comes back? I mean, 9.4, 9.6, you're going for preservation. I mean, that's
then I'll be full disclosure on this one. This is a book that, there's such a big difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8 and I would love that 9.8 because I would probably sell it as I have a couple other copies of this, but it's Amazing Spider-Man 301. 9.6, beautiful book. Kyle and I have both gone over this book a couple times, and we're like, how is this not a 9.8? Even Brian has seen it in Comic Book Jesus and said, I don't know how that's not a 9.8. But
so there's a markable defect on that. Like they have it listed over at CGC. There's certain books that they have lists where they look for a certain defect and they grade it down. On that book, in the left-hand bottom corner, it's almost like a little bit of page pulling away. It looks like a little bit of tear towards the bottom. Some people would think it's the cutting of the actual book. Does that have it? Yep, right there on the left. See how you see the color break right there? Mm-hmm. The little page pulling away where the black's supposed to be? If you get a grader that just looks at so when they pull up their thing, it's going to say, look for this. It's not a manufacturer defect. It's a common error in the book, common damage. And they give you a check for that. So they must have found something very small else in that book. They still gave it a 9.6, so they're saying it's near mint. But they're saying that that's not actually, and it's debatable. I mean, there's a lot, for years, it's been a very big debate in the community. Is that actually a manufacturer defect? Because it seems like there's a lot of books that have that, and they're saying that it isn't. They're saying that that's actually like people going through the book, and it's a rub off of the color and kind of like a color break. And it's a common one that they look for all the time. And if you get the grader that looked at the notes on those books, the common grading notes on that books of what to look for, what type of damage to look for, areas that go, that right there, hold it up again. Yeah. Turn it a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So that's it. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. So you could break it and you can hope that the guy drank the night before and it's just like, F it, I'm just going to look at the book and not look at the, the note thing. But I put the $20 inside maybe if you're going to crack it so that it costs you extra. But I mean, that's why they did it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying on that book, that's kind of like a TGC board note type thing. Like people,
I should stick it.
I bet you if you go on the board, you'd find
George Washington inside the book.
No.
Let's see if it comes back at 9.8.
Somebody just said
maybe
no.
Because I mean,
my wife.
Did you hear that? Your wife just absolutely not.
I've gone over this book. Kyle's gone over this book. Solo went over this book. It's a beautiful copy. Like I have not seen one in this great a condition.
Can you show the rest? I mean, it's kind of weird that I just picked that, but like, could you show the rest? I don't know.
I'm with Dwayne. Black Mark of the Corner, live on air, and you will be a legend, Matt.
Can you backside maybe? Let's say sitting in the well. Did I just say
well?
I looked over that thing, and I'll be the first to tell you.
There's a lot of reflection. I can't see a ton of stuff in it, but
I'm a terrible grader. But I looked over that, and that is by far the cleanest copy of 301
they're saying it's near mint. Like they're not saying you're saying it's a clean copy.
But there's a big difference between 9.6 and 9.8 if you're for resale.
Yes, I agree with that, but that's not what a grading difference. Like I understand what you're saying. I understand you're upset because you want a 9.8. Everybody wants a 9.8. But the truth of the matter is they said it's 9.8. They say it's near mint, and they said that it has a common damage defect. Okay, and that is the case. I mean, I've seen some crap they've done before. It sucks, and I feel for you. But like that is what that one unfortunately is, I guess. I mean, like, yeah, they'll never turn on a black light and notice that at all. Dude.
Sharpie gate.
But you know what? You could always go get it pressed and cleaned and resubmit it after you crack it and hope that you didn't split the book or put any other types of things in it.
So what does that do? So say he pressed it before he got that, and then he presses it again. No?
Not on that one because of that market, the color break market.
Well, that book was pressed too.
I know that's what I'm saying. I know that won't fix it, but what does repressing a book do?
I was being sarcastic.
I know. Okay. No.
If by this point that book probably has bounce back because it's probably been so long since it did it. So you'd have to repress it anyways to get to the original form for the 9.6, whatever you graded on it. But like, no, it's not going to make a difference if you press and clean that. The only way it'll be a difference, honestly, is if you crack that without damaging it, send it back in, and you get just not a new guy and not an old guy, just some guy that's like trying to go through and is hungover and doesn't feel like reading the notes on
So
how to grade that book.
would it be wise to put like a sticky note on it that says, please get to hangover guy?
Yeah, because hangover guy's not going to want. He goes, I know this. I've worked here for 2 years. I know everything about grading comics. I'm not going to read these. I know this book. It's great. Here we go, and send it off. That's the guy you want. You want that guy.
How hard is it to crack one of those without damaging the book?
I
would never.
Fairly
try
easy. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've seen it done before. I've seen it done very well. I've seen it done very poorly. If you haven't cracked, I wouldn't crack. If you've never cracked a book before out of a case, I wouldn't start cracking that one.
I'll leave this for our segment coming up. I'll leave a
crack talk.
I'll leave crack talk to later when we do our con talk.
So Travis, they used to be a lot easier. To be honest, they used to be a lot easier. But then people were on both, and I'm not saying which company, but one company got in a lot of trouble because in the interwells you could easily kind of pry it open, take out the grade, and you could slip a different grade in or do something like that. So as the time has gone on between that and there was another interwell issue, they've made it harder and harder to crack. But I've also seen people at that company take the significance of a hammer and a chisel to it before and pop it open. So, I mean, yeah, I know that some people are like big crackers. I'm not a big cracker.
Well, and like someone said it in the chat, a couple of people said it in the chat, and I kind of agree with them that I think CGC has these list of books that they look at, like that they get that they are very hard on, and I think that 301 is one of them.
Yeah, and that's why it is. It's because there's ones that have definite like asterisks next to it. Look at this part right here. This is a common damage on it, and that's one of the books that just it is what it is. So I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, I don't think any crack can say help. Yeah, hangnail. That you don't want that
hangnail guy.
Yeah, always about it. He's bleeding all over your books too. He's like, it's a white cover. All of a sudden, it comes with blood spots. That's kind of okay. But this is one thing I'll say. Whenever I've gotten something back like that has happened, excluding fingerprints on the cover, if I've ever gotten one of those back, or no, it wasn't fingerprints. Sorry, unidentified, whatever they said on the cover. They've actually graded it higher. Like I've seen them rip, except for that one book, they cost a couple $1,000. The one where they ripped the corner off. But I've seen them put a tear in the back of a New Mutants 98, and like a fish hook tear, and they graded it out at a 98. It was three quarters of the book. So if they usually damage the book, that's kind of what you want, because they're like, oh crap, I damaged this.
9.8 for you, and a 9.8 for you.
But if they don't, and that book
was asking about if it's got white pages.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, it does. It's that, I'm telling you, man. I mean, that's it. It's that thing in the bottom corner. If you grade enough, it's common. You know that's there. Hey, what's yours look like, Kyle?
I've got a pretty nice one. Mine would have to go to CBCS because it's got the old McFarlane picture on it.
Look at you. Is that fingerprint resistant signature?
It is. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Kyle sends his to CBCS and gets a 9.8.
That would be amazing.
So what's the bottom corner on yours look like, Kyle? Has it got that little break?
Mine does.
Put them on there. We're not.
Mine does not.
Okay.
Oh, let me shut my green screen off. I'm sorry, everybody.
This is great. This is a good example. So this is cool.
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Not sorry.
Oh yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
But mine's not black. It doesn't have the rollover.
That's not. Isn't that the toy one? Isn't that the issue that comes with the toy? That's not the actual.
It says $1
issue.
Put yours back up
Is
again.
it?
I think mine's the direct one.
Hold on, let me shut my green screen.
The screen's
semi-professional here.
I didn't realize there was one that had the black line and one that didn't.
Yeah, because that one isn't that the one that came with a toy? Didn't it come like they have the toy variant?
No, it's not.
This one, it's the back cover is not. It's not rolling over.
Rolled over. That's what it is. There's no rollover. It's right there. You can see it. You can see it.
Maybe.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. I see.
But no, look at the bottom right there. See how it's not pulled off right at the corner?
Mhm.
There's no pulling right there. I'm using my mouse, by the way. I'm like circling it with my mouse because everybody can see my mouse on the screen, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
right there. You see that, everybody? Yeah, right there. There you
Okay.
go. Yeah, see how that corner right there isn't pulled out? Yeah, that right there. And that's the difference in those two books, and that's why he might have a shot at getting a 9.
You're both in the same tent, just hold them sideways.
Yeah, just hold it next to each other so we can all see. Well, I don't even understand why I'm doing this with the mouse. I don't get why I have the mouse in front of me because it's not. Nobody can see it.
So mine could use that. That's another book that could use a press though as well.
You just got a little roll in it. That's all right though. No breaking. That looked cool. It was clean white. We can let's put next time. Let's take the black light too, and then we'll put the black light, and then we'll somehow figure out how we can. I'll just start editing arrows that I can drop into place.
Oh, that'll be awesome. We should totally do that.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't want to take a black light to any of Kyle's books, especially that 129.
I wouldn't want to put a black light on it either.
Because Kyle, it's not, guys. It's not a reprint. It's not True Believer. It's the book. It was.
It is. It just doesn't have.
It's because of the roll. It doesn't have the.
No, I just know that they made a toy variant of that book, but it doesn't. Yeah, people are saying that it doesn't have the cover price. Stick Boy says it's a Canadian variant.
No, it's not.
Ed wants you to have another drink, Marco.
Mine says $1 US on it.
Yeah, and then Ultra said that the toy variant doesn't have.
It doesn't. Where the 301 doesn't have the price on it.
Oh, Toys with
it
Toys
says it
is
actually
not for
big,
retail.
doesn't it?
So it's not for retail.
I think the number. I think the 301's bigger on it too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna have another drink.
Good idea. Tonight's show is sponsored by me drinking grape soda and Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
Again, okay.
Where'd you get your grape drink? Is that grape knee high?
My wife.
We've established it came from Walmart.
I like Solo. Where'd you get that grape drink?
Wait, so Matt, did you had 3 books to submit, right? So are we submitting 10 or 8? What are we doing here?
So Kyle and I are going in together, submitting together. He's the one that's having the hard decision. I'm specifically submitting those books.
Oh, cool. That'll be good. Excellent.
9.6 was just it's a book I've been going back and forth because I feel in my heart of hearts that book's a 9.8. And I get what you're saying that 9.6 is still near mint, but I get what you're saying about the hanging Chad.
That's what sucks. That's one of those books that it sucks.
The hanging solo.
Yeah, the hanging solo.
Well, and let's talk about it. Like that part sucks because it's such a common damage error, right? And they don't give you any leniency on that. But what is Marvel rub at the end of the day if it's not damage error? Like, I mean, the color rubbed off in the printing. Like,
well, what chaps my ass about that is you got the 361 that I'm going to submit. It has the printer splices at the end for where it's split through the entire book as the printer cut off, and that's just marked as a printer defect. They don't knock you down for it. So that color rub or the hanging Chad at the end of that 301, you would think it would be looked at the same way, but grading is just subjective.
And there's the thing with the X-Men, giant size X-Men in the box. There's one. They actually have a 2-parter on that too, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. And that's another book that just is a pain in the ass because all of a sudden you go down like a full point on it if you get the damage defect compared to the printer defect. And I mean, like, I get it, and it does suck. And it's subjective. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's subjective. Like I said too, it's near mint. Like, it's not their fault that the market dictates that a 9.8 near mint is worth more than a 9.6,
right?
By so much. So, but you do see some of the. Have you guys? I don't know about you, but there were some books that I was surprised recently how much the prices of 9.6. Like the gap still isn't the same, but the growth rate is higher than it used to be.
I think because the 9.8s are so out of reach that the 9.6s have gone up in price because they're a little bit more obtainable. But now you can squeeze a few more bucks out of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only book I'm particular on, just because I want the prestige of saying, "Ooh, look, I've got a 9.8, and I think it's a 9.8 quality." But
it also doesn't help that everybody tells you it's a and it does.
Right.
It looks. I mean, it's clean, right? So like everybody's like, "Oh, that's a drop dead 9.8," and that's kind of my throw out earlier. I didn't know you were gonna do that, but that was kind of my throw out earlier about the presser / cleaner. Like everybody's like, press and clean, and then everything you watch is like, oh, my pressing cleaner told me it was this, but the guy was drunk and hungover when he's not drunk and hungover. That's not what happened.
The difference between me is I'm not a reseller. These are all PC books, and that's my thing. Like, I'll buy a lot of my PC books that I have graded are 9.0, 9.2 because I don't care. Like, I just want to be able to say, look, I have the book.
So they're talking about paper that hangs over. So there's on the bottom corner. It looks like it's a binary like pull off of like when the paper gets cut. On that one though, on the 301, when it breaks color, that's the damage defect. It's not the binary tear that they're talking about on a different book. Number 2, the 301 with a bunch of black lines in the corner. Is that the ink run on the 301? Is that what you're talking about, Stick Boy? I don't know because I can't see the comic. It's kind of tough to judge comics off of comments on the chat or something to the like that. And we're also trying to burn like 2 more minutes because we have a guest coming on.
It's amazing how much you guys know about that book. That's a whole different level. Have you guys ever thought about using your powers for good?
No, absolutely not.
Bringing him into the world?
Purely evil.
I hope you make so much money at whatever you do for your personal job.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. He's either a genius or somewhere on the spectrum. I don't know.
But I did, like the funny part is like Kyle I do have a thing about slamming books like this, but I'm notorious for flinging books across the room and going, well, I only paid 50 cents or $1 for that. So like everybody's got their little defects and everybody's got their little things.
When my books, even if they're bags boarded,
that drives me crazy. But
so you off the top of your head would know like the 5 most notorious books that those issues you're just talking about, like those little defects. Are there like 5 or 6 notoriously?
If you bring them up, like if you're like this book and there's something like, why did I get this? Like I just did there, I could do that with them, but it's not like,
look how white the pages in this 361 are.
That's clean. Yeah, that's nice.
So Raymond is it usually near the back staple on the 301? It's usually in the bottom left corner, right where where it should be a 90 for the corner itself. Mm-hmm. It looks like it like almost when you put it in the box to ship it out or put it on the rack or something, it hits a corner and it kind of shreds a little bit.
Do any of you know any graders or know someone who's been a grader?
I've talked to some before. And I accidentally found myself in a grading room one time before security decided to escort me out.
I was gonna say, is that's a full-time job for them? That's all they do?
Yeah. I mean, like early on, it wasn't. It was just like they'd have. Well, no, I don't know how much. So
you don't have to get into it, but
don't say that because they're gonna get me for that. I can't say that. You can say that. I can't say that. But yeah, so like they would hire at one point. They would hire extra staff when they come into town to like transport the books back and forth, and they figured out that might not be the best idea as more popular and more stringent people got. Also, too, people were criticizing certain things. There was problems that they would have with the grading too. One company that a guy worked at, and then he went to another company, had made friends with somebody and was like pedigreeing all his books and giving them like really high grades, especially in Silver and Gold Age. And it turned out the guy was micro trimming all the books. For those that don't know, micro trimming, he was taking like little cut lines to making them smoother and whatever. And the grader at the time had bragged about how great these books are and how this heritage is the best. And it turned out
Marco's escorted out of the CGC after trying to bribe a grader with Marvel.
That's the comment of the night. That's a good one.
That comment wins.
Thank you. That was a good one. But yeah, I mean, so there's like a big history of it, Travis. I mean, it's really it's interesting, but people I get it. People are really invested. People are really invested in this type of stuff now too, because they hear so many stories. So then like they get really worked up over it. And I'm not saying that's Matt's case at all, but like some of them don't know the history of it too. And you're like, well, how would you like it if you had graded something? And let's say you graded that Iron Man 1 and it was an 8.0, and you put it in there and the well ends up warping the whole book. And turns your 9.0 or 8.0 into like a 3. And I'm not talking about pressing warp. I'm talking ruined it warp. Because that's happened before. Not that book.
Do they pull these grading guys and gals from like the art world? Do they have like a background in like restoration, or are these people who are trained on the job to do the thing?
So Yeah, I mean, it's guys. Hey, we have a guest come in, but it's a guys. Yeah, like I don't know everybody's background on it exactly like that, but no, that's not how they have. It does. It's not.
There's not like a recruitment league. There's not like a minor.
Now they're so what they used to do was they used to throw them into the moderns, right? And then you'd bring them in and you'd push them up into the rankings. Right. When that incident happened with the micro trimming thing, I think people were like, yeah, dude. I mean, you got some guy not finding that.
I knew graders for 11 and a half years, but they all gave me Fs. Well, most of them.
Boy, this is the new Hive.
Wow. Okay.
Hive is selling this book, so this is one of their new covers.
Panini.
If you check out the Star Wars short tomorrow night, I think Marco and the guys might actually be talking.
We don't talk about Panini. We don't talk about Panini or about Delato. Hey,
but I think if you check it out, but we do have a special guest tonight, everybody.
Is that where you're going to stop?
I guess so.
You're not going to introduce him?
No,
I don't know.
All right, so
we're professionals here, semi-professionals.
Semi. It's only semi.
All right, does anybody want
my podcast? We often forget to introduce the guests.
That's very yes. You guys forget to introduce yourself sometimes too, as a matter of fact.
Very frequently.
Is anybody really seriously going to introduce him though? That's not my pay level. No, okay, good job. Hey, Elliot, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, good, thanks. Hi, my name's Elliott Kalan. I'm a writer and podcaster. I have a book out now called Maniac of New York from Aftershock Comics. Please pick it up at comic stores everywhere. What else can I introduce myself with about?
That was fantastic. That was the best introduction.
Participant.
I was going to introduce you. I was going to break down too, but you did it way better than I could. So.
You were right to say Jeopardy participant because I was not a champion. I came in second place on my episode, but thank you. Jeopardy participant, husband, father, American, innovator,
Daily Show writer, mystery
comedian,
science
writer,
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, lots of stuff. If anyone's ever seen that panel where Sauron's talking about wanting to turn people into dinosaurs on Twitter, that's
X-Men,
from a book that I wrote.
Yeah, Spider-Man X-Men book. Yes, which had a lot.
That's going to be on my tombstone someday. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And if you ever want to know about Batman too, we know we're big fans here of Batman, and we like to rag on him a lot. There's also you've watched all the Batman movies before, correct? Like
sure. Yeah.
Watching Batman movie on Batman. You've watched that one, right? Do you remember that skit?
Yeah. You know what, Elliot? Lead with that next time. Hi, I'm Elliot. I have seen all the Batman movies. I was also on Jeopardy, and I read comics.
There you go. That's it. That's it. That's good.
Have a good night.
It's a good intro. Yeah.
I don't do it. Yeah, that's why I don't do intros. Oh, we are big fans of your book, though. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say the same thing. You beat me to it. So big fans of Maniac of New York.
Thank you very much.
Probably one of my favorite books out right now. Issue 3 just came out. Loved it. But so kind of what got you into comics? Were you always into comics as a kid? Is this something you kind of just transitioned into through your career? Kind of what's your history with comics?
I've been a comic fan for almost 2 months now. No, just kidding. Yes, it's new to me. It's new to me. When I was a kid, when I was little, I was all about comic strips, and I was all about, and I didn't get into superhero comics when I was young because in my mind, I thought they were so insanely violent, and when I got older, it wasn't until I was a little older that I realized. I thought superhero comics I thought were like the comics I'm putting out now, where people's heads are getting cut off and stuff like that. But that's only superhero movies where people get their heads cut off. But when I remember very well when I was like 9, getting super into the second series of the Marvel Universe cards, and that was my gateway into like kind of mainstream superhero comics. And the first book I think I bought for myself was like a Spider-Man 30th anniversary issue, which at the time I was like, oh, it's late me getting into these books. He's been around for 30 years, but now he's been around for, 60 years. So it makes me feel, I don't like that I can pinpoint exactly by the year when I started reading them. But ever since then, I've just been getting deeper and deeper into comics, going from superhero stuff to independent things, and being very lucky enough to work in them a little bit myself and get to know people who are involved. And I worked at my local comic book store for a little bit when I was a teenager, and messed up a bunch of times, and so I didn't work there for super long. But I feel like I got a little bit of time behind the counter.
It's funny you say that about the idea of comics being violent, and seeing that is comics for a lot of young kids, it seems like it's their first place where they can escape the watchful eye of their parents. If they can come in and see you watch a movie, but for some reason if you have a comic book, I remember when I was a kid reading Preacher, I'm like, I shouldn't be reading this, but no one knows. And so it's a lot of people's first escape into a much more mature or sometimes violent, dark world that you can't do when you're watching the only television in your house, or you're not able to go to like rated R movies, or you don't have that best friend whose parents let them do everything. You can go like watch whatever at their house. Yeah, comics are kind of a gateway into that world sometimes.
There were definitely things that I read, like I remember reading like Watchmen when I was way too young. And it really frightening me, like the things it was grappling with in a way that I hadn't felt since my dad and me watched RoboCop when I was way too young, and seeing a guy getting blown apart in the beginning by 8209 and being like, this is the most violent thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Like it definitely, I think, helped to introduce me, to things that were like more mature that I was selecting as without a guide, without anyone showing me those things, which meant I occasionally stumbled on things where I was like, this is too much for me. I don't want this right now. But more often it was a way of having my mind kind of opened to different kinds of ideas and different kinds of storytelling. I still love the medium so much.
What about the 80s horror? I mean, there's a lot of that kind of, well, with your kind of main figure here, is that something that you've always been into? Because it sounds like it might not be. It might not, that love there might not have been as a little kid. Is it something you developed? These kind of horrific monsters? Sorry, I didn't mean to keep. I'm going to continue to interrupt just because that's the way I talk. I apologize.
Right in the show.
Oh, good.
We're all podcasters here. We know how this works.
Oh yeah. On my podcast, The Flophouse, I am notorious for not letting my co-hosts finish sentences or thoughts and then saying what they were about to say. They hate it. Anyway, it was I have such vivid memories of just the images of those classic 80s horror characters. Like I remember when I was a kid, there was a big cardboard stand-up of Chucky in my local video store. And there was something about that image that I was so attracted and repelled by at the same time. And it was a similar thing where in my imagination, these movies were much harsher than they actually were. And so by the time I was a teenager, when I was watching, the Jason and Freddy and Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, I was like, it was another one of those times where I was like, oh, this is not like, this is goofier than I imagined it to be. And I really came to love them for that kind of goofiness. But
campiness,
yeah. But at the same time, there was, specifically with Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, there is this feeling that like I knew of this movie long before I ever got to see it. And I had this version of it in my mind that was so amazing to me because I grew up in New Jersey, right outside of New York, and I still had family in New York and would spend a lot of time there. And just like the idea of like, I didn't live in Leatherface's town. I didn't live where Elm Street was, but I lived right outside of New York. So I was like, oh, I know this place. And there's a monster walking around in it. And seeing that movie and being like, well, that was not what I imagined. That was not what I built up in my head over the years. So it's like those 80s horror movies, I really have an affinity for them, but they never quite live up to what I want them to be. So with Maniac of New York, it's like, okay, well, this is the movie I always wanted to see, where there's no budget limits and there's no kind of taste limits except for my own. And the people dealing with the situations are really having a hard time with what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, you put in some of that 80s tropes in there, though. Like, there's the drunk cop or like whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And the one that's recovering. And then you get like the doors are still going, the people complaining on the subway. You play a lot of that good stuff. And like just the stabbing. We do have one question. In the book, there's a pause in this last book in 3 that you had out. Why doesn't he just keep killing people?
So that's something that will be hinted at.
Spoil it.
I won't say. You'll get a little bit more of an not explanation, but a little hint on what's going on with there in the next issue, in issue 4, and that right, or is it issue 5? It's by the end of the storyline. I promise. It's all mixed up in my head, but my hope is there'll be more explanation of that in future stories, because that's something I want to play with more. But there's I just had a lot of this series is me kind of like coming up with the things I've always wanted to see, and then I have to figure out why later. And yeah, and this idea that there is a part of the city that, so for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know the book, there's like a masked, unkillable, unstoppable murder monster slasher going around New York, and he's been around for years. And at this point, it's just a thing people have to deal with in New York, and the authorities have kind of given up trying to deal with it. But there's this corner of Central Park around the Museum of Natural History, basically my favorite place in the world from when I was a kid until now, that he just does not go to. And you'll find a little bit of a hint at that later. And then eventually I'll explain the whole thing. But it's a mystery that does have an answer, but I don't want to tell you what it is right now.
Keep him talking. I think we can get it out of him. I think we can get him out of it.
That's the
talking. Keep going.
Someone has to ask another question, or else I'll spill it. I'll spill it. Yeah.
Oh no,
I can't keep secrets.
No, do it. Yeah, we actually reviewed. So we actually that was one of the books that we go through every new comic book day, and we grab a couple books, usually like 3 to 5, and we review them and give people our unbiased, crappy opinions on what we think. And that was one that got really high grades, was yours. So then we did the number 2, and we've actually thoroughly enjoyed it all the way through. So the people who are watching the show are pretty familiar, typically, I think, of it, or at least what our opinions on it. So, and yeah, it's great. Like it isn't the watercolor thing we keep bringing up too, and the artist and how the artwork is drawn. Well, how did you decide to go with that artist?
Well, Andrea Moody, the artist on it, I was working with Mike Martz, my editor at Aftershock, and he had a couple different artists that he was showing me their stuff. And there's something about Andrea's where I love his character faces. His character face acting is so nuanced and on point, and especially for something like this where there's going to be a lot of, especially for a slasher, there's a few talking scenes. I was going to say a fair number of talking scenes, but I don't want people to think it's too talky. But also, I wanted him to make the cannon fodder characters, the people who are there to get killed, feel like people. And I also love kind of atmosphere he creates with it. It's kind of like these very kind of real faces in a kind of dream atmosphere. And it was only after we started talking about that I was like, oh, I worked with Andrea once before. I totally forgotten that we had done a story together for an American vampire anthology book for DC years ago. And I was like, that's why I like his stuff so much, because we work together well. So there's just something about the realisticness of the faces, but also that kind of like dream quality of the way that the colors are that I really like a lot. And it feels very grimy New York-y to me, which is no matter how fancy New York gets, there's a story that I enjoy telling people about how I live in Los Angeles now, but I lived in New York for a number of years, and I grew up in New Jersey. And my wife and I, we went to visit my family in New York, and the city is much richer feeling now than it was. There's all these big new shiny buildings, and everyone we know can't afford to live there. And we're waiting on the subway, and there was still like a pile of human poop on the subway platform. And it was like, New York, you're never going to change. Like, no matter how fancy you get, there's always going to be human poop just lying around.
Eating on it too.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect.
And I feel like Andrew really captures that the city that is a great city, but it's still got, feces lying around all over it.
It does.
I think when you opened up issue 2, when you opened it up and you were actually, between the two of you, were singling out people in their day and what they were accomplishing. And then just to know that, you know what, their time is up, and you get it. They gave us the time to connect with them, and then you take away that time and you slaughter them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a fantastic way to open a book. Like it was, it was great.
But you also, oh, sorry. I was going to say you got from it exactly what we wanted you to get from it, which is like, these are people. They're all on that. The great thing about the New York subway is that people who otherwise would never encounter each other in their normal daily life have to be around each other and have to spend time. And everybody is on that train because of something in their life that they are heading to or coming away from. They all have things going on in their lives. Everyone in a subway car, they're the center of their own story, and making it feel like these people don't exist as nameless, faceless, slasher fodder. Like, they're people, and unfortunately they're all going to become slasher fodder. But I'm so glad that it hit you that way. That's fantastic.
I think in 3-2 you did a great job on that. I mean, you could call it a trope or whatever, but it's like the phone rings and you're expecting the person to come in and, you know, the horror character to come in and kill a person, but it doesn't happen. I mean, we spoil the book anyway, so, but like, it doesn't happen. Like, I was waiting for it to happen, right? Like, because you started off with it in the beginning of the book. I'm like, okay, that person's dead, done, donezo. And then you go and it's like, okay, wait, what? You're not going to kill that and then you got me. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was done really well because it kind of reminds you of like that campy stuff. Like you're saying, like, I don't take a lot of that stuff serious. Like all the like that campy horror is just, it's funny. Like it reminds me of like, oh, here it comes. And then when you didn't bring it right away, I was like, what the heck are they doing here? But that's one thing we always talk about on this show is like some books need to use less words and better art, right? If you use great art on it, you can use very few words and put it through there. And that's what you do in this book. And you're doing, in our opinion, my opinion, you're doing a great job on it.
Thank you. I mean, I'm happy to take that as fact that I'm doing.
Yeah.
That we're doing a good job, but I think
you can put that on the back of the book as a review, right? And just
sure.
Mayhem.
Doing a great job in our opinion. It feels like sorry, what did you say?
Go for it.
I was the balance beam. I feel like Ron is like doing those kind of paying homage and doing those tropes and the things that we're used to and want to see in this kind of story, but doing them in a way that hopefully feels like there's either another level of like either satire or just kind of like character to it. A big influence on me on this one was the movie Shin Godzilla, from where
I was gonna say that it does. It's the idea of the book. You're using Harry as this device, but that device could be replaceable with anything that is this constant threat in people's lives. Shin Godzilla is the politics around that. How does that shape the city around them? The writer in the book, the kind of person profiting off of this disaster of this force, was really interesting and a very smart placement of that character in that issue. I thought it was fantastic in there. But Shin Godzilla is what I was thinking this whole time. Like, you take this force and you just place it in this very sorry.
Yeah. This is a story that I've been wanting to do in some form for a long time. And when I saw Shin Godzilla, I was like, oh, they figured it out. They figured out how to like make a movie that's a Godzilla as like a public health crisis that the bureaucracy can't handle, and they keep arguing about it. And to think about, okay, there's like a Jason type killer wandering around New York. What does that mean as a like basically the same thing as like as a civic crisis, you know? And how do people deal with it or accommodate it? And especially, it was when I was first writing the book, it was in my mind, it was a little bit of a way of processing my frustration with how this country handles gun violence, where it's like people get killed and the country's response is like, well, I guess we got to teach people first aid so they can help each other when these shootings happen. And you know, as there's so many of them this year, which is frightening and astounding. And that the idea of what do you do when it's kind of easier to absorb a problem into the way you live your daily life than it is to take the effort to change the world around you to try to eliminate that problem. And that like Shin Godzilla, I feel like handles that very well, even when it's the goofiest looking Godzilla maybe there's ever been, which I still love, but he's got those big googly eyes. But that's that kind of similar thing of like it's easier for me to just accept that this terrible thing is happening than for me to put the thought and the effort into how are we going to actually solve it, and applying that to, and thinking about that, I was like, okay, this gives me an excuse to write a story where a mass killer is just murdering people on a subway train, which I wanted to do. And I felt like if I needed a reason to do it, or else I was basically the writer in the book profiting off of death. Yeah.
Well, you do this brilliant bit of storytelling in that first issue where you put them side by side with the weather report, right? The weather and traffic report. And so it becomes just another element like weather or traffic in people's life, which seems so pedestrian and so mundane. And then you juxtapose that next to this graphic scene of violence in issue 3, where you're like, oh, you know, it's it's so common, we're used to it, we've adapted to it, like you mentioned with gun violence. We've adapted to it so much it seems pedestrian, except for those few moments when that carnage does happen, and then it feels real in those moments, but very pedestrian and mundane in the rest of those moments. And that is coming through like aces through all three of the issues here. That feeling of those moments and using those moments of heightening to do it. Very well done.
Pedestrian was on the drinking game list.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, Elliot, we play a drinking game where I have drinking game keywords for our listeners. Our hosts and all of us, except for me, don't know what it is. And it's only for me and our listeners. So I have keywords that go out there. And I wish pedestrian was now one of our keywords.
So there's a QR code. Can somebody throw it up? That's a great time to promo the QR code. Nope. Okay. Good stuff. There you go. Right on his face.
Put it up.
Yeah, there it is. So when they scan that in, they get a list of words. We don't know what it's going to be. It's probably making fun of us. We still haven't checked it out yet. But Kyle puts them together every week. And when we say those words, people are supposed to drink. And they sure do. All right. That was great, Travis. Thanks for making everybody else smarter in this room by that, because that was good.
Don't use them big words here.
Them big words don't play well.
Pedestrian.
Yeah.
Good word.
No.
Good word.
Your outfit is so pedestrian right now. I'm just because you're using it.
Nope.
Given your history writing for the Daily Show and then Mystery Science Theater 3000, the Netflix one, and all that, in writing some Marvel and DC comics before this, did you approach your own creator book differently? Like, did your process change at all? Did you kind of keep it kind of the same across all the mediums you've worked in your history? How did you approach that?
That's a good question. It's like it was the like physical process, is different from writing all those things. But I try to keep a similar process of, I'm a big like pre-planner out. And writing comics has helped me a lot with my other type of writing, because you're forced to really boil it down to what is the most essential moment for each panel. Like you don't have with this storyline, it was, I have 20 pages an issue and it's a 5-issue story. So I have 100 pages and I have a certain number of panels basically. And I did a lot of like, I write an outline for myself of what, a couple paragraphs of what's going on in that issue. Then I'll break it down page by page. What do I think is going to happen on each page? So I don't want to pull this the kind of thing that like used to happen with Gene Colan when he was drawing Marvel comics. Although I love Gene Colan, his art, where he would use up all the pages and then finally he'd have one page to do like what was really should have been like the last 6 pages of the story. Like I'm always worried about doing that in writing, and having Andrea write me and be like, I can't fit 40 panels onto this last page so that you can finish up this story. But and then I'll write like I'll draw literally, because I don't draw very well, but I'll draw like, really kind of crappy stick figures blocking out how I would do it if I was the artist, so that I know panel by panel. And so it's a lot of just like processing everything down in stages so that I'm trying to do it in a way that is like deliberate and thoughtful rather than kind of haphazard and just off the top of my head. I'm not good enough that I can just do it off the top of my head. And the thing I learned at the Daily Show that has always been an influence on me with everything else that I've done is like to have a set thinking process so that what you're doing is deliberate and that you know why you're making the choices that you're making. And so that you also don't have to rely on in the moment inspiration to get you through everything, that you have a way of thinking through story problems or plot problems or issues or complications. There's something I'm working on now where I was like, how am I going to fill this? Like, I've got to fit a scene in here and I don't know how I'm going to fit it in. And the thing that I made up a process for myself when I worked at the Daily Show, it was like, what's the shape that I have to fill? Like, what's the purpose of this moment? And how do I create a joke or a scene or a piece of dialogue to fit that shape? Like filling like a weirdly shaped bottle full of water, something like that. The water's got to conform to the shape of it. And so kind of like, how do I create whatever needs to be in that scene so that it fits that scene, And it's a very abstract way of talking about it. But the main thing is just trying to do everything as deliberately and specifically as possible. Boy, that was a boring way to answer that question.
No,
I should have had a better story.
No, it seems like there's that transition. I mean, comics certainly makes writing, forces you to be more workmanlike about writing, as opposed to kind of, like, oh, I'm taking my time. And that your analogy about the vessel and the shape actually works really well with the panels. So you're being much more economical. And I'm sure there's a much more sense of problem solving, because you're visually problem solving on the page. I have to make this story beat work, but it works on 3 levels, but I only have 1 panel to do it in. So how do I structure this? It must be fun to do compared to some of the other styles of writing you've had to do.
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of have their different challenges and stuff and various things, but certainly like I worked on a kids show on Netflix called The Who Was Show. That was a sketch show about history that I loved working on, but there was one aspect of it I did not love, which is the day that I had to write for each of we covered 24 different historical figures, or maybe it was 28 different historical figures, and I had to write 6 one-liners for each of them that were about their life, but it was for kids. So I couldn't include things the kids wouldn't know. I couldn't have them be denigrating themselves. They couldn't be like mean jokes. So it was like, all right, I got to write 6 one-liners for Amelia Earhart that, don't take her down any pegs, and like I don't want to repeat anything, and it can't be new information. And
it was writing ad copy for all these characters. Yeah.
And it was like, that was one of those days where it was like, this is not a fun day. Like, this is not a fun task, but it was still using a lot of those tools. But with this, it's a real fun challenge, because it's like, how do you take a story that you have a sense of, but you haven't done the nuts and bolts of it yet? How do you construct those nuts and bolts so that the story does what you want it to do, basically? And I did I'm a big fan of what I call time and motion studies, where I'll take something I like and I'll take it apart in as small sections as possible. So I'll take a comic book that I like and I'll break it down. What's the arc of this issue? Okay, well, what happens? Break it down per page. Okay, now break it down per panel, so that I get a sense of like, okay, if this guy who's much better than me at writing can only handle this many words in a panel, then I should not try to fit more words than that in a panel. Or if this is how it's like something that apparently Raymond Chandler used to do when he was teaching himself how to write, was he would read a short story and then he would try to write the story from memory himself, and then he'd compare how he did it and how like Hemingway did it. Right. The writer he's mimicking, and see what he did wrong, so that he could learn their tricks. And it's
damn, I'm reading comics wrong.
What? Oh no!
You made me realize I'm not reading. Hold on, I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm going to reread Maniac.
No. But it's also, but it's one of those things that also, like, there are times too when I'm just reading a book and I just want to be like, just flow the story in front of me. Like, I don't want to have to analyze it. But once you do it, it becomes really fun to break down like how someone accomplishes the tricks they accomplish, and how you can get as much impact as you can out of, like, there's a bunch of panels on this page, and then there's just one big panel on the page afterwards, and that, like, the kind of stuff that Jack Kirby would do a lot of, where it's just like, it's like 6 panels, 6 panels, 6 panels. Okay, here's a 2-page spread. Okay, 6 panels, 6 panels. And that 2-page spread is, suddenly you're like, I wasn't expecting that. My mind is blown. Hold on a second. I'm bowled over,
So we got a question from
Marco. You're on mute, buddy.
Is there anything else you're working on and creating, or any titles that you have coming up that we should be on the lookout for?
Sorry, there was a blip for a moment on my end because my internet is not great.
So we have a listener that'd like to know if there's anything you're working on or creating, or any other titles that you have coming up, or how long are you continuing this story?
So this story is a 5-issue story, and then I'm talking to Aftershock right now about doing a second story that would be, I think, 4 issues, but the way we're talking about it now, they might be longer issues if it goes forward. But that would be a new Maniac story with a bunch of the same characters continuing and some new characters coming up, and I'm excited about the potential of it. I don't know if I'm allowed to. I don't know when I'll be able to say that it's happening, but I hope it's happening. Oh, yeah. Other than that, most of my work is in television, and there's a show that I am developing right now that I'm really excited about, but I don't want to jinx it by saying too much about it. But I wish I had more things that I could, like, point to and be like, this, but it's all just potentials right now, you know.
So what's it like working for Netflix then? It's probably the dream for most people, and you've done it more, you know, you've done a few things for Netflix. What's it like to work for them?
It's funny. I seem to only work on the Netflix shows that Netflix doesn't pay that much attention to. Like I feel like that when there was this period of time when it was like people were like, Netflix, they have unlimited monies. They'll do anything. And yet I somehow ended up on the shows where Netflix was like, do you need lunch today? Is this something that we can cut from the budget, or do we need to do more of these? But the best thing about those was that for the most part, in terms of, we didn't have like a time slot that we had to fit into, so we could kind of decide what the size and shape of the shows we were doing, and working on Mystery Science Theater was, for the 2 seasons we did for Netflix, like that was a dream come true. That's the show that I've wanted to work on since I was a kid. But people would ask me, what's the show you want to work on the most if you could work on it? And I'd be like, Mystery Science Theater 3000, but it doesn't exist anymore.
What was your favorite episode to write? Was it the Mac and Me?
Mac and Me was pretty fantastic, I gotta say. Yeah.
It had to have been so much fun to write that, because you're just, you know, on top of the McDonald's talk and just the cheesiness and awesomeness of it, because it's cheesy, and then just like, and you've got to had to have loved writing the dialogue of when McQueen goes off of his wheelchair, goes off of the cliff.
Yeah,
like the dialogue, like I can only imagine you guys writing it, and just you're not even like writing on a computers, but I picture you guys writing it with like pencil and breaking the lead, because you guys are just laughing so hard.
I wish it was
computers weren't invented yet. You know what I mean? So.
I wish it was that smooth. It's more like we would watch it and laugh through it, and then we'd have to watch it again. Because the way we did that show in the writer's room, we'd work on 10-minute chunks each day, and it would be like the first half of the day would be Jonah Heston. I would say Jonah Heston, that's the character. Jonah Ray, the host, and I, we would run a writer's room in Los Angeles, and then Joel Hodgson would run a separate writer's room for other episodes in Pennsylvania, where he's located. And we would watch with the writers that same 10-minute chunk probably 4 times at least. And then at a certain point, they would go, and then Jonah and I would go back through it, just the 2 of us, like actually selecting which riffs we wanted to go where. And so the first couple times we'd be laughing and laughing, and then by the end of the day, it was like, oh, just 10 minutes, huh? How many? Are we almost done with it? No, we've got 4 more minutes.
Can't watch that wheelchair go off the cliff again.
It's such a show that's so fun to work on, and yet at the same time so grueling to work on. Like I was just thinking about a joke the other day from that Mac and Me episode. I texted Jonah. I was like, I thought about this joke where the kid wakes up and a little remote control car drives into his room, and I forgot what his brother's name is, but he's like, Danny, and it's like, yes, it's me, your brother. A witch turned me into a remote control car. You need to get 3 magic keys to turn me back. I'm like, just like whenever we could do a joke where it was like, okay, this joke is going to create an entire world that only exists for this one joke. Like those are my favorite ones, and it was super fun doing it. It was a real dream come true working that. It was super fun to do when we were not on the 8th or 9th watch of the same 10-minute chunk of Mac and Me, where there's no dialogue, and we've got to figure out how to fill a kid wandering around his house just looking at stuff that Mac has done. You know, it's only when you have to write jokes that go over a movie that you realize how many movies have long sections with no dialogue, and you're like, oh yeah, it's 3 minutes where we just got to write a joke every now and then, but they're not saying anything. Like
it's kind of like you're kind of using the Marvel method there, where you have the story and you're like, all right, here's what we have to work with. And what you were talking about having that vessel analogy, like it's pre-described. We got to fill this time.
Oh, very much. Yeah. And we would get, people would come up with jokes. I mean, in the room, we'd come up with riffs and we'd be like, that's hilarious. We've got to do it. And then when Joan and I were doing the actual riff producing work, we'd be like, well, that was a hilarious 6-second joke, but we have 4 seconds to put it in. So we can't do it. Like it's got to fit. Those jokes had to fit so precisely into the gaps, into those shapes. And
jokes that hit the cutting room floor.
Oh, there were so many. In the first season, we put too many jokes in. We had I had a philosophy that I introduced to everybody called Max Jokes, where it was like, we're gonna put maximum jokes in. max jokes, as many jokes as we can. And they'd be like, I think there's enough jokes in here. I'd go, max jokes, we need more jokes, max jokes, maximum jokes. And then in the first season, there are times when the jokes are a little too tight together. And so the second season, I turned around the exact opposite. And I would say, TMJ, too many jokes. Got it. Come on, TMJ. We got a TMJ problem here. And Joel started calling me the joke killer because we'd have a couple jokes in a row. And he'd be like, I think we can fit these in. I'm like, I'd be like, TMJ, take out that middle one. Too many jokes. We got to kill it. So I went through a lot. So I guess I was both the naive young guy who goes to war thinking it's going to be an adventure and the cynical, hard-bitten guy who's been there for a while and is just trying to get through the day, trying to get through these 10 minutes of Mac and Me in just those 2 seasons.
You did too.
The what?
Yeah, said you got your cake and ate it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, except for you started the wrong way because you made friends the first season. The second season, I bet you there's a bunch of writers that aren't too happy with you anymore.
Oh, that's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut in there.
Oh no,
Do you have a preference? Do you have a preference between the two? Do you prefer the small like comic book where you're kind of in charge, you get to do what you want to do a little bit more, versus that writer's room where you're really collaborating with a lot of people and you've got, Netflix or the channel or whoever, is producing and they're like, oh, you can't put that in there. Do you have a preference between the two, or maybe they're a good balance?
Well, I think it's a really nice balance to be able to have experience doing both. And it's like, whatever I'm doing at the moment, that's the one I am tired of and want to go on to the other thing. When it comes to my career, unfortunately, I'm a real grass is greener guy, where at the Daily Show, as amazing as that experience was, and I was there for a long time and I loved it. I really grew up there. I started there as basically a kid out of college as a PA and an intern, and worked my way up and left there as a grown man with a son and who was a head writer. Even there were times where I was like, they're always going to change my jokes. Always. Like, it's always going to get changed. It's just the nature of the beast. But then when I'm working on my own things, it can be a little intimidating because you don't have that safety net of knowing, well, the boss is going to change this. Like this, even if this doesn't work completely, I don't have to worry because there's the boss. He's going to figure this out. And at the same time, I have this kind of emotional dream that I'll be the writer who like Kurt Vonnegut, I'll just go into a room all day by myself and come out with an amazing book. But in reality, I know I do better work when I'm working with other people. And I have other people to push back on me and force me not to take the easy way out and to really think about what I'm doing and challenge me. And it's really frustrating when you're working with somebody and they're like, I don't think that's going to work, because you just want it to work so you don't have to you don't want to have to do extra work. But the end result is better. So it's like, emotionally, I'm like, oh, I wish I could just sit on the top of a mountain and write things and throw them down off the mountain and never have to get notes from anybody, and they'd be perfect every time. But in real life, it's better to have that person there who's providing the friction. There's the saying about the grit that makes the pearl. It's good to have that kind of creative friction sometimes because it forces you to do better work.
Yeah, it's interesting like that. More and more, the landscape for like writers, you do kind of have to be a journeyman, right? Because there's so many different mediums to go through, and you've been able to dip your fingers in a lot of pots there. So this was doing this project. Was this one your first? I'm gonna put it this way. Was this hard making the decision to like venture out and do something where it's kind of on your back like that? Was it pretty intimidating to do this, or was there, I don't know, or is this something that you just had been trying to get off the ground for a long time?
It was a little bit of both. It's a story that I'd wanted to do for a long time. It had been living in my head for a while, to the point, and there's like 4 or 5 stories that have been in my head for years, and I know I need to get them out, or else I'm gonna, on my deathbed, I'll be like, more time, I need it, and then Mephisto will show up and I'll sign whatever he's got so I can get that extra time to finish it. So like, I need to get it out, and this was one of those stories. But at the same time, there's it is intimidating and a little. It's always scary to do something that you haven't done before, but that can be in a good way. And there's a quote that I saw from David Bowie once, where he was saying that, like, when you go out a little too far and you can't quite feel the bottom with your feet, like that's when you do your best work, because you have that fear and that's forcing you to think in a new way or think differently. And so it feels good creatively to have that challenge and then to kind of try to meet it as best as you can. But in this case, it helped that like I've been thinking about this story in one form or another for so many years that it was like I pitched it to Aftershock and they were like, oh yeah, this seems pretty formed, and I'm like, oh, it should be. I've been thinking about it for like 7 years, like or more.
Yeah, that's nice. It's like it's time to like swim out past those breakers, right? Like get into those.
Exactly.
I like
and then
that,
and then once you're swimming really well there, you kind of have to keep going, or else you end up. At least in my case, I doing the same thing over and over again, and then starting to like I can feel when I'm getting complacent with my work and not doing the best work that I can do, and eventually. I'll just be out in the middle of the ocean. It'll be too far, and a whale will eat me, and that'll be the end of my career.
I thought we were about to go into like a Gattaca analogy. We're like, we've gone too far. You can't go back. The only way to get to the other side.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say something super dumb. You say what you're going to say because it's going to be better than what I was going to say.
I doubt it. But I was going to say. So you said you kind of did a little bit of storyboarding in your head when you were writing Maniac of New York and laying it out and. Kind of where did you have a lot of input with the artist too? Like he would send you a page and you'd be like, no, this is more what I'm thinking. And you kind of had that collaboration back and forth. We have a question in the chat also that wanted to know if there was a the use of the limited color palette. Was that on certain characters? Was that by design or so? How much collaboration did you have in the art and the colors? And
with a lot of that is Andrea knows what he's doing. He's a master at this. And so he would send us the penciled pages. And unless there was, I'm not too much of a stickler for this is how I imagined it. It's got to be this specific way. Because usually his way of doing it will be better. Like he knows what he's doing. He's got a better visual sense than I do. And every now and then I would just be like, this thing, could I be a little clearer? Because this is going to be, I'm planting something here that I want to have come back later, or is it, is it clear enough that this thing is happening? And then he'd be like, and he's the easiest guy to work with. He's like, and he's this very, very enthusiastic, very energetic Italian. So I get these emails back from him that are just like, awesome, man. Yes, perfect. Yes, of course. Yes. And like, and then he'll fix it and it'll look amazing. But most of the time he sends in the pages and I'm like, yeah, this looks great. And the colors I feel like that's something that he has a real thought process behind which colors he uses when and kind of what emotions he's going for and all those things. So I think it helps build the power of it more than just like straightforward naturalistic coloring would. So unless it's like, no, I really need to see this. Like this thing is supposed to be blue because it's going to come back later. I want him to kind of follow what he knows how to do. He's the master of it. So I don't want to get in his way. Sometimes I've been trying to think of things I want to really see him draw and see, or like types of people I want to see him draw, but he's done just about everything. I asked him, we were trying to think of another thing to work on together. And I was like, is there anything that you really want to do that you haven't done before? And he's like, no, I've done it all. And I'm like, okay, well,
have you done
then I'll think of something else.
Guinea pigs?
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Guinea pig.
No,
okay.
see, stop bringing up the guinea pigs, bro. He has guinea pigs, so he thinks that I don't know why. He like has pet guinea pigs. Every artist we talk to about that or every writer, he brings it up to and they don't get it. I think it's a joke. It's not a joke.
I think so. Has he done guinea pigs?
Yeah. I don't think so, but everyone has their passion.
You're
doing that.
If you do Maniacs in New York too, and you have them in there, if you could just put Mandalore the Indomitable's mask on somebody, like even like a kid walking around with it or something like that, I think we'd appreciate it. Some of us, anyways.
I'll say. The guinea pig thing reminds me of that you get those people who go to conventions with very specific what they want sketched in their sketchbooks that are very specific themes. And I remember being at a Comic-Con at Evan Dorkin's table, and a guy came up and he goes, "Oh yeah, this is my sketchbook where I get Spider-Man villains who are drinking soda drawn." And he was like, okay, but it was the strangest. It was the only other one. I remember there was a guy who was the artist that I was talking to? I don't remember, but someone came up to him at a convention, a different artist, and was like, "Yeah, this is my Aunt May nudes sketchbook. Can you?" And
wow.
And it was just like, these are very specific.
These
are very specific things that people want to see multiple interpretations of. So guinea pigs is not even on the weird end. Like I think that'll That's fine.
That's more middle of the road now. Now you're talking about nude Aunt May.
Elliot, what would be your what would be your weird request if you had to create a frame collection on the wall from artists? What would it be like? Superhero chest hair? I don't like. This question goes for everyone. What would be your weird request for a sketch, a collection of sketches?
That's a real good question. I wonder if it would be like I think for me it would either be let's see, superheroes in Alice in Wonderland settings, just from the book Alice in Wonderland, or superheroes in scenes from Fiddler on the Roof, which is a big
like that one better.
In my family is a big musical. So you have like, I guess it's Spider-Man and Spider-Woman telling Tevye that they've pledged themselves to each other, so Spider-Woman can't marry Laserwolf, or stuff like that. Actually, that is a. I should totally try to get somebody to draw that for me. That's a commission I should put into effect.
I think I'm gonna have to do Thanos handing Iron Man Grey Poupon.
Oh my god.
I gotta know when you went into Aftershock to pitch Maniac, and they were like, "Oh, it seems pretty well put together." At any time did they hesitate, and you just pulled out your Emmy and set it on the table, and you were like, just sat back and let it speak for itself?
Luckily, it didn't have to go that far. They seemed real. What's the word? Really welcoming, and it helped also that my editor on this, Mike March, we had worked together on Spider-Man and the X-Men back in when I had like kind of a burst of stuff I was doing for Marvel. So so I think they kind of had a sense of me enough that they didn't have to be like, who's this guy? What do they need? And so I didn't need to bring the Emmys with them in a bag or something like that and show them.
I'd like you to meet my friend M.
And
I just pictured it like a trench coat. You just open it up and they're just hanging there.
Oh yeah, like, it's like the Matrix. Instead of being full of guns, it's full of award trophies. But it's such a I won some Emmy Awards working on The Daily Show, and that feels like so long ago to me now that like we have them, in our house on a piece of furniture somewhere. And I walked by them and I was like, did those come with the house? Like what was that? Oh, right. That was when I was a kid that I was working on that. Like that was when I was a young person.
Tchotchkes like just lining your place now. Yeah.
I mean, we have those, and we have a certificate my son got for showing empathy in kindergarten. And there are some tchotchkes in there. There's some like little wooden Garudas that belong to my wife's grandparents. They're just kind of, now at this point, the Emmys are just kind of like assorted decorative things that we have. Yeah. But it's better than I know people who
Emmys off today.
Yes.
Read them out. Read them out. The people that you put the shrines on, please read them out.
I know people who are ostentatiously on an ostentatious event. What?
Read them out. Tell the people who got like the little shining, like the lights coming down, sprinkling, like snow falls on it all the time. Everything. Please read them out.
There are people who even that's fine. There are people who I know who put them in their bathrooms as if like, oh, I don't even care about them. But they're there so that when people go to the bathroom, they see them. Like it's like you make it's the equivalent to the person who's like, well, I don't own a TV.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you're already a step up because you don't have it in your background here for your video chat. Like, I forgot that.
There were times when last year all work was over Zoom, and I was in this writer's room, and sometimes I'd have to work in the room where those are sitting on a piece of furniture, and I'd be like desperately making sure my camera was pointed away from them because I was like, I don't want to be the dick who's like showing off all his awards to his coworkers. Like, what a bad. It's bad enough that I have behind me Horse Meets Dog, one of my children's books that's on bookstores everywhere. It's bad enough that I have that up there.
We have some questions in the chat that want to know what your favorite horror movie or books are, and if Jason was one of them, and that's why your main character looks a lot like Jason.
The thing about Jason is that I love the Jason character more than I like any of the actual individual Jason movies. He's like Sherlock Holmes for me, where I love the character so much, and yet every time I see something,
smoking a pipe.
What?
I never seen Jason smoking a pipe.
Never. Well, I don't mean they're literally like. I mean, he doesn't smoke crimes either, but that where anytime I read a Sherlock Holmes story, I'm like, that's okay. But the Sherlock Holmes character is cooler than this story, and I feel like Jason is kind of like cooler than his movies, but. I'm a big fan of. I do like a lot of. There are a bunch of bloody movies that I like. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the original and the Romero Living Dead movies are amazing. But there's John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness is a movie that I remember seeing in the theaters and it just blew me away. And I watched it again a few years ago and I'm like, oh, he's trying to cram every single kind of scare he can into this movie. And the story kind of spins out at a certain point, but it's like one of the best kind of Lovecraft style things that I've seen in a movie. And like the horror really, like there's just so many different types of scares. And that's one that I think about a fair amount and has a special place in my heart. That being said, the scariest movie I've ever seen, I think, is Persona, the Ingmar Bergman movie where these two women kind of merge personalities and exchange selves. And it's not like a horror movie. It's not bloody, but it's every time I walk away from that one, I'm like, oh, that was an intense experience. Oh boy. But if it's horror, then probably In the Mouth of Madness.
Who are some of your favorite people that you've worked with? Like, I love Jon Stewart, and what a great guy. I've always honored, loved his comedy and everything. What are some of the more favorite people that you've really enjoyed working with?
I've been really lucky that I've never had unlike many friends of mine who are writers, and I'm sure it'll have me at some point, I've never had a job where I didn't like the job or I didn't respect the project I was on or anything. I've been very lucky at that. And so and to work with John, who I had been watching on TV since I was a kid, since he was hosting You Wrote It, You Watch It on MTV and stuff. And he was someone who really it was very good to me and I learned a lot from and really took a shine to me and helped to, there were a number of people at The Daily Show that really I owe a lot of my career to, and he's one of them. And one of the executive producers, Jen Flans, is one of them. And Wyatt Cenac, who, was a correspondent on the show for a number of years. I basically owe writing anything at Marvel to him because he kind of got me in the door there when he was working on a project there. And there's just a number of people there that I have and like John Oliver, when I worked with him, I always loved working with him. But Joel Hodgson with Mystery Science Theater, I was very lucky to have worked on a couple shows that I would call family shows where it really feels like you are close to the people that you're working with, and I don't know, I've been super, and one of the best things about working on Mystery Science Theater was that Jonah Ray and I became good friends. I didn't really know him at all. And through working closely with him, he and I are buddies now and we talk regularly. And I don't know if there was a thing that I guess I'm going to have to say Jon Stewart, if only because when I was first dating my wife, on our fourth date, I took her to the Daily Show holiday party, and we were in an elevator with John, and I introduced her. I was like, "Oh, this is." I don't know if she's going to want my same name. She hates the spotlight. I'll say Danielle is her name. But anyway, he goes, and he's pointing at me and he goes, "Stick with this one. He's going places." And she was like, "Well, Jon Stewart says so, then I guess I have to keep going out with you." And that, it meant a lot to me that he just kind of that he did that.
That's a good wingman.
Yeah.
No, that's a good wingman.
If you ever, it's good. If you can get a celebrity, if you get a respected celebrity to tell someone to keep going out with you, then go for it, I say.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you were talking about cons earlier. Did you go to a lot of cons before, or was it just when you started writing comic books, or because that's one of our topics later is bringing up comic book con experiences.
When I was younger, I would go to, I didn't go to as many as I wanted to. I could never get to all the ones I wanted to, but the first one I ever went to was a big Pennsylvania con in '93, I think it was. And I was just loved being around comic book people, and I loved going through back issue bins. My goal for years has been to assemble a complete run of Nexus, Mike Barron's Nexus series, mostly with Steve Rude, but not totally. And I don't have it yet. And every now and then I'll if I get to go to a con, I'll bring my list of the issues of Nexus I still need. But there's just something super fun about it. And I went through this weird period where once I became more professionally involved with comics, it actually got a little bit less fun for me at first because I could no longer go up to the artists and the writers that I loved and just be a fan and just be a straight out fan. It always felt weird. And but then I got to a certain point
you were part of the clique or something.
It was there was a time when I was introduced to a comic book artist that I loved by a mutual friend. And the mutual friend was like, "Hey, this is Elliot." And he was like, "Cool. So," and then there was no reason for us to have a conversation after that. And I was like, I was just a fan. Then I could gush on his work, and I know I'm never going to encounter him again. So it doesn't matter if I'm like embarrassed about how fanboyish I'm going to be. But if I ever think I'm going to meet him again, I don't want him to be like, oh, that guy. But then at a certain point, I felt like I knew enough people in the industry that that the conventions became like professional conventions in this exciting way, where it was like, oh, like I'm going to get to see people I don't get to see normally that like I've worked with. And then so that was really nice. I haven't, unfortunately, becoming a father has cut down drastically the amount of time I was able to go to conventions, but almost every year I went to, when I was in New York, I would go to the New York Comic Con at the Javits Center. And, you know, for my bachelor party, I went to the San Diego Comic Con before I got married. And I'm really,
party.
Oh yeah, it was super fun. It was great. And like, speaking of Nexus, I remember I dragged my bachelor friends who were not comics fans to a Steve Rude event there that they were very bored by, but I thought it was exciting. But and I'm looking forward to like when one of the things that was sad to me about the lockdown, aside from all the sad things that were going on and everybody's problems with health and things like that, was that like I'm really looking forward to taking my kids to the San Diego Comic Con and like introducing them to it and like helping them have fun with it, and kind of like seeing the people that I haven't seen in a long time and letting them and kind of giving them that first experience. Yeah. Whereas when I was a kid, my parents didn't care about comics. So like they just dropped me off at the convention and I'd be like, I guess like I got to make my way around this room.
Yeah.
That's how Matt still is. His parents drop him off
every time. Yep. They pack me a lunch. They pin $20 to my lapel, and away I go.
Are the kids? Are the kids like younger? Are they mid-age now? Where are they in the realm of
my kids? I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they know the main Marvel characters. My 2-year-old, he always goes, tell me a superhero story, but he wants to hear. I make him up stories about the superheroes going to school or like playing at the playground. Like the superheroes are kids and stories. But my older son, when he's back at school now, but for a year he was doing remote school, and we'd have lunch together and we were reading our way through the old 60s Marvels on Marvel Unlimited. So like we read the first like 67 issues of X-Men, and we were going through the Avengers, and it was really great to see him forming his own opinions and really getting to know these characters and experience them in a way that I didn't. Because when I came into comics, I started with, the X-Men had been around for 200 some odd issues, for years. And so he's reading them when they're first figuring them out. And it's like, we rereading them fighting the Locust. And he'd be like, what happens to the Locust? Is he a big villain? I'd be like, no, he's not. He's like,
I feel bad for these locusts. And he goes, that's why you got the empathy award, son.
And or like the first time that we read an issue, and I was like reading the credits box and it says like written by Rascally Roy Thomas. And the first time he goes, Roy Thomas, too wordy. I was like, yeah, it made me very proud. Very proud.
Very good. That is a big comment here. We have a problem with DC, and you should go over there and fix it because they put too many words on a page. I mean, too many words on a page. But so what is his favorite? Like, what's his favorite?
And that was the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing for me to learn as a comic writer, was just don't put too many words on a page, too many words on a panel, too many words on a page. Like it's difficult, His favorite comic character is, I guess, because we're reading those X-Men comics, is Cyclops, which baffles me because Cyclops has next to no personality. I think he just likes his power. He likes that lasers come out of his eyes, and he hasn't thought about it too much beyond that.
I mean, but that is pretty cool.
No. He's only in the earlier ones. Once he gets there, after he gets to giant size X-Men, then it will be all right. We'll be all right.
He'll be. I'm
he'll
gonna
be
try.
fine.
I know he'll get on the Wolverine train. I'm going to try as hard as I can to get him onto Nightcrawler, but I'm sure he'll go to Wolverine instead of Nightcrawler. But this is, I often say that this is a Spider-Man family and a Spider-Man household. So we can't have, my children have to know the basics of Spider-Man, at the very least.
And Moon Knight, you should get him into some Moon Knight too. It's like the better version of Batman. So that's always good. Hey, besides, do you collect it all? I mean, there's a lot of collectors here. Is there books you collect? Do you collect books by any chance?
Not. I used to. I mean, like Nexus is the one I've held on to. Otherwise,
that's the run. You're a runner. But
I got to a point where I ran out of once I had a family and my house was filling up with things that didn't belong to me. It was like, I can't collect things, and I started to lose my. I would buy stuff and then it would go in a box in the basement or in the garage, and I would buy like limited edition posters. And I mean, I have like pieces of art that I bought that I would love to put up, but like there isn't space for them. So So I've not been collecting the way I once did. I'm just collecting memories now, I
those
guess.
those damn Emmys take up so much space.
Well,
you got to clear away. Yeah.
Hey,
listen,
I can't put comic books there. I've got Emmys.
If you just get rid of the horse or the dog, you could just put an AF-15 right there, and it'd be all set. I mean, so you wouldn't see Pappas anymore. That you wrote your own book, and
if I could afford AF-15, then I'd be collecting left and right.
Yeah.
I was
gonna say when you were writing for Spider-Man and some stuff, you didn't walk in there and go. Marvel didn't go.
He got the ball around here.
Yeah, you walk in, you're like, "That's an AS-15," and they're like, "Yeah, you want it? We got a couple of them. Like, no big deal. Like, yeah."
Unfortunately, no.
Like that?
I only got to go to the Marvel offices a couple times while I was working for them, and each time it was like everyone was way too busy to like spend much time with me, but I remember when I was a kid, when I was probably 11, I went on the Marvel office tour of their older offices where like Spider-Man takes you on the tour and shows you around. And so anytime I've been to the Marvel offices since then, I'm like, this is not as cool as when Spider-Man was showing me around.
All right.
Like this is, there was a moment that I remember so well where I don't know who they hired to do it. If it was someone on staff who would dress as Spider-Man or if they hired like a performer to do it. But I remember him walking into one of the editor's offices, but I don't remember which editor it might have been. Maybe it was Tom Brevoort. I don't know. Somebody who's still memorable, but it might be somebody who wasn't anymore. And hearing them say to the person, like, what do you have that I can show these people? Like, just give me something I can show them. Okay, great. And like taking just like a book that hadn't come out yet and being like, look at this. Oh yeah. And then walking back and be like, thanks. It was this like unscripted moment of like, this tour guide is he's running out of things to tell us about. Yeah. Like
He's just like, check out this book, and then does a backflip, and it's like, all right, well, moving on now.
Exactly.
Criterion does this thing where they have a Criterion closet. So when you go to their offices, if you've done something for Criterion, in this big closet, and you can go in and pull the Criterion collections you want, and you turn to the camera, you talk about it. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm taking this. Marvel should do something like that.
Yeah, they should
have writers come in like a closet and it's trades like, oh, you gotta have this. I remember reading this. I'm putting this in my bag. It's free advertisement. You get some free swag with it. They're missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah, but
what's their number? I got
From your mouth to who's in charge over there now? I don't even remember anymore. I remember who the publisher is.
The mouse is in charge now.
Oh yeah, so yeah.
But everybody out there taking all the Kirby art that they stole from them and bringing it back.
If you're at Marvel, that's when the security guard dressed as Spider-Man just comes and tasers you and drags you out as you're trying to pick stuff off the walls.
That's I've been trying to get into that Criterion closet. I have a friend who works at Criterion Collection, and I'm like, well, my family's visiting New York. Like maybe I could go into that closet, and they're like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
The question is like,
go Emmy.
Yeah.
Emmy. No, still not for me.
When you get into that closet, it's like, what's your approach? Do you try to pick the stuff that you've seen a couple of times that are like, but this gives me some street cred, or do you go for like Slumber Party Massacre, which they have in there, like this is the good one? Do you go for like the artsy stuff that's like, I want this, or do you go for like the stuff that you're like, this is good? I guess they re-release this.
I guess it's a good question. I mean, if you're gonna have to talk about it, you gotta have something that you can talk about enough. But because Criterion has such a mix of stuff. Yeah, I think you balance it. That's what you do. Is you're like, I guess I'll get the Fellini set. Yeah, and also this, and I guess I'll get the Giallo set. It's Italian stuff. It's all Italian cinema.
Yeah.
Or you do the two, you hold it up and go like, I know this is really popular right now, but this is really my love, my first love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You give them both ends of it. Hey, somebody asked in the chat, and it's kind of interesting. Have you ever read the Cross Garth Ennis stuff? And if so, like, what do you think of that? Like, what do you think of that real super horror Cross? I know why they're asking this, but I don't know.
I haven't read that one. I haven't read
don't worry about it. Good. Yeah, we'll move on from that one.
Well, I have, but I'm one of those guys which is not a great person to be, where it's like almost anytime I read a horror or science fiction thing or see a movie of it, I'm like, seen it. I saw this in a story 25 years ago, and it's not the right way to approach anything, because of course the same stories get told over and over and over again. And the Maniac of New York is not, it's not the most original concept in the world, but but it's
the execution.
Yeah, it's the execution. So like to go into something, I always have to fight that instinct to be like, yeah, I saw that, I saw this was a storyline in a movie in 1978. Why am I watching it again now? And just being like, okay, I have to remember they're doing it differently now, So I haven't read it, but so I have no opinions on it, but I will someday. I'll try to.
It's not one that
the execution. It's throughout the whole book.
Just
how they execute.
I wouldn't. I would not read that one to your children. I would not. Yes, please, Kyle. Could you take care of that for me, please?
So, Thank you. So Solo's not part of the show anymore.
So when everything starts opening up again, you were talking about conventions. When everything starts opening up again, are you slated to do any appearances to get some stuff? So where we can get some stuff signed or
nothing yet, but I'd love to. I mean, the hope, my dream is always to have something going on at the right time so that I can go to San Diego and promote it there, But there was like the last LA Comic-Con, I was on at least one panel there, and when they come back, I'd love to do something there again. Like it's something. There's nothing scheduled, but it's something that I would love to do. Like if there's the next time there's a San Diego Con, I'll drive down and I'd be happy to sign any copies of Maniac that anybody shoves into my face. I'll be if I'm using the bathroom, slide it under the stall. Alan Moore didn't like it when the fans were sliding under the stall for him to sign books. I'll take it. I'll go for it. Just be ready for me to take my time.
Elliot.
And then Elliot goes, I read it on a paper. He goes, "Oh, thank you."
I think Maniac's the book that's going to get you there, and I can't wait. To hopefully when they open San Diego up again to get that book signed by you, and I'm sure it's going to be like a kid in a candy store when you turn around and see your line with people waiting to get your book, your book signed.
Oh, so. Thank you so much for saying that. It's the most gratifying thing is when you write something and somebody else connects with it and they reach out and say like, I really enjoyed this, or this meant a lot to me, or like, there's no, except for if I was to become a millionaire somehow, that would be pretty gratifying too. But there's nothing, the whole reason besides that, setting aside the great riches and luxury and wealth, the reason you write is to make a connection with somebody across a distance that you can't reach, usually because you don't know the person that you're reaching with it. Like you're sending something out, you're hoping you're throwing something in the world, and you want someone to catch it. And so to meet people who and interact with people who like enjoyed it and feel like they want to reach back and tell me, like, that's the most gratifying thing. It's just really wonderful. And
I think you've nailed it with this book.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
that means a lot.
Two, if you want to become a millionaire, what I suggest you do is just don't go to San Diego. You just go to all the cons, do the whole circuit, especially in the Midwest, and then in New York too. You do those, and don't worry. I mean, I know it's going to smell a little bit, and interesting people you'll meet and everything like that. But then after I get my book signed by you because you came to the Midwest, then you can go back and you'll get optioned, and then after that you'll become a millionaire, and there you go, another Emmy. Excellent.
The Midwest is really the key here. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's the Midwest.
That's what the Midwest. Yeah,
he's got the Emmy. That's old news. He's going for an Eisner.
Another one.
He's going for the Eisner.
Yeah, the Eisner. Yep, just put him on there.
Right now I just have an E. I need the GOT. I need the rest of the EGOT. Yeah. I only have E. Right. I'm only 25%.
Well, you gotta get the option. Right. Yeah, there you go. See, I got the plan for you right there. You can.
And then he's gonna bust out the necklace that's just got them all attached to it. That's how he's gonna roll.
Oh, it'd be so heavy.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about this is gonna be real me on my high horse or whatever. The craziest thing about winning an Emmy is that the next day, if you're working on a New York show, you got to fly back to New York, and they just let you take it on the plane with you, and it's super heavy and sharp. Like, it's really dangerous, and they're like nothing dangerous. You can't bring up anything dangerous on the plane except that award. You're now better than everyone else on the plane. You get to bring it with you. Does it get its own seat? It doesn't get its own seat, but it's like, even when they're like, can't have anything on the floor, got to put it underneath the chair in front of you. I would have it sitting on the floor between my feet because there's nowhere else to put it. And they're like, and the flight attendants are all like, that's exactly what you should be doing. Thank you. Yeah. You don't need to put that anywhere. He's
using it to open his peanuts and whatever you got to do with it.
He's opening his Corona bottle.
Yep.
You can't have more than 1 ounce of shampoo, but you can have something that can stab somebody to death. Yep, exactly. You got it.
Oh,
okay, that's good.
And the base of it is so heavy.
Go ahead, stab somebody.
You could probably a couple blows to the head, and it's going to do its real damage on somebody. So
that should be the next arc of Maniac. Is he's got an Emmy, and that's what he's killing everybody with.
Well, so the series would be, you'd have a storyline. He's killing everybody at the Emmy, and then the rest of it is the flashback of how he developed the show, pitched the show, ran it, his fights with the network to get his vision on the air, and then the Emmy campaign to get the votes for it, And for a character who can't talk, that's a big thing.
You call it the Emmy of Hollywood.
That's the writer. That's it. He's already done this. He's already he's spoiling the whole book. That's the writer at the beginning. The writer at the beginning is actually writing the movie, and then now he's going to get it, and he's going to sue, and then he's going to end up getting the Emmy and get out of jail because he's they're going to have an upswell in New York, and everybody's going to change, and then
ticker tape parade, all that stuff. Yeah,
it's like the movies you review on your podcast, and it's going to be like number 2, and it's going to be on a plane, like Snakes on a Plane, or like when they go originally Speed was in a bus. And then now it's Emmys on a plane, and you're going to have
excellent on a plane.
And then 3, it can be that movie he wrote came out. He wins an Oscar. Now he's killing people with the Oscar. And then he's going to write an album and get a Grammy, and he just kills people with different awards.
Emmys on a subway.
Planes, trains, automobiles. Which one? Yeah, so Uber, because it's got to be automobiles. Planes, trains, automobiles. We got it. There you go.
And then the last one's in space. Yeah, done. Okay, great. Yeah.
So, Elliot, do you want to change your answer about liking working with groups, creating after this pitch room here?
We've just made him a millionaire and put him into the Midwest for no reason to smell dudes in
sweatpants. You're welcome, Elliot.
Yeah,
we're good. It's a real roller coaster ride. That's all. That's all I could say.
That's a quote. Somebody take that. Put that. That's better than the quote we gave you. So somebody take that.
You know what? We'll bring it up at the beginning of the show. It's a real roller coaster ride. Elliot.
I like that's a good
Emmy Award winner, Elliot.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Elliot. We appreciate you coming on. It was a fun time, and I hope you're not a stranger here.
Yeah,
do you want to tell our listeners where they can find you, and if you got any work coming up we should be looking out for?
Sure, I'll say thank you.
Sorry.
Well,
I know.
I'll tell you something. Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun, and I really appreciate it. And it's been I've loved talking to you guys. I'm on the internet. On Twitter, you can find me at Elliott Kalan, ELLIOTTKALAN. There's issues 1 through 3 of Maniac of New York are out now. 2 more issues coming out. The next in May, and the one after that in June.
On that, guys.
And then I'm going to say that there's a very high likelihood there will be more Maniac of New York after that. So if not all the plot threads are tied up at the end of issue 5, don't worry. It's going to happen eventually, possibly. And there's a show that I worked on, a new animated show for Fox that I was a writer on last year that is premiering May 31st called Housebroken. So if you like animated television shows, please check it out. I would love to work on another season of that, so as many people as can watch it as possible. And other than that, if you've listened to podcasts and you like podcasts, they're kind of like this show, but about movies instead of comics, then please check out the Flophouse podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's me and my friends Dan and Stuart. Dan is a current Daily Show writer. Stuart is a bar owner in Brooklyn, and we've been talking about dumb movies for like 13 years now, and it's really nuts so we're not stopping anytime soon. So you're either going to listen or it's just going to keep on going without you, I guess.
And they go on good tangents.
There's no stopping us.
They go on good tangents.
And if you ever wanted to hear me as Tom Brokaw talking about Dune for 40 minutes, that's the place to go. It's the only place you're going to find it.
Or Celeste.
Now you have me intrigued.
Or Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, actually, Sylvester Stallone. Actually, that's a new character, Sylvester Stallone. He's the off-brand Sylvester Stallone from Eastern Europe.
I think you could, Elliot. I think you could do a good Carson. A couple of times when you've been talking today, I'm like, oh, he slipped into a little bit of Carson there, Johnny Carson there. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna workshop it.
Put that into your repertoire.
Okay,
I mean, you already tried to be the next Andy Rooney, so why not go for Carson, right?
That's my real dream job. I mean, when I was younger, people would say, "What shows do you want to write for?" And I'd say, "Daily Show, Mystery Science Theater," and I got to do both. But to be Andy Rooney, that would be just the dream. Have 3 minutes of national television time a week to just complain about nothing, just whatever. Talk about what's in your kitchen drawer, anything. But if you have my last promotional thing that I'll promote, if you have a child, or you know a child, or you are a child, and they like picture books, I have 2 picture books: Horse Meets Dog, with art by the great Tim Miller, and Sharko and Hippo with art by the great Andrea Tsurumi. I had to get my Andrea straight because Andrew Tsurumi is the artist on Shark and Hippo, and Andrew Moody is the artist on Maniac of New York. They're both available, and they're both about two animal characters that deal with confusion and arguing with each other. So that's Horse Meets Dog and Shark and Hippo, and that's all the things I think that I will tell people to check out. But most of all, please check out Maniac of New York. If you like it, I think you'll keep liking it. If you haven't tried it yet, I think you'll like it. If you didn't like it, you might as well just finish out the series. Just keep buying it.
It's sold out where we're located, man. It's like if you don't buy it on Wednesday, you're not getting it. So you're doing good.
Thanks. That was something that was a big surprise to me. It was when people were telling me the first issue was selling out, and I didn't expect that at all. So that was either the print run is terribly low, which I don't think is the case, or it just people have been picking it up, which is great.
Are you going to go second print?
On the first issue's gone to a second print already. I don't know if they're going to do the other ones. Nice. Thanks. It's the first time I've ever done anything that I think went to a second printing, so I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations, brother. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, one question though. One question. In a fight between a hippo and a shark, who wins?
So the real question is, where is it happening? Is it freshwater or saltwater? If it's saltwater, I think the shark has, the hippo may still win. If it's freshwater, definitely the hippo, because the shark can't handle those. But hippos are super dangerous animals. Yeah, they're the most dangerous animal in Africa.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They're the king. They literally are. Like people don't. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yes, I like them even better now.
Yes. So I'd say hippo in both situations.
Hippo.
I'm not even give the shark a chance. The shark gets a couple bites in, the hippo doesn't even feel it, and then the hippo just wrecks.
This is actually a running conversation in the street that I live on with all the little kids, and hippo has won. They make me little hippo pendants because I had to tell them a story, and then like how hippo fights it. So they'll randomly come up and say, "Well, what if hippo was fighting?" And exactly what we just did right there. So I appreciate that.
That's fantastic. I love it.
I think we're going to do a comic book or Comic-Con horror stories if you want to hang out with us. If you don't, that's cool too. We don't take any offense to it. I mean, it's up to you, but we're going to...
You're busy. We understand, but
go ahead. I'm having such a good time. I would love to stick around, but I should. I'm overdue for saying goodnight to my older son. I have to go in and wake him up so I can tell him goodnight. And he's going to be like, he's probably sleeping like this. Just like with his arms crossed, like
very understandable.
I respect that.
But thank you so much for having me.
It was great.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. How
about this? When 5 comes out, you come back and we talk about what your next project is.
You got it. Definitely. I love that.
Sweet.
Let's do it. Remind me I don't forget. But let's do it.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah. You too.
Dude, he's cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Dude, that dude's dope.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, fantastic.
It was so hard because I was like, okay, you know what? We always schedule these for like 30 minutes. You know what? We'll do an awesome 30-minute segment. And he was just so much fun. I was like, oh, I don't want to end this. He's just a lot of fun. So I'm glad he really came on and helped us out.
Absolutely. Travis, glad I gave you the touch of greatness to come on the show because you nailed that, buddy.
I love that guy. That guy, you tell that guy has
shit out of that.
Yeah,
yes,
it's just pedestrian. I really like his book. Sometimes you get creators on. Like we used to interview writers of books, and they send you their stuff, and you're just like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's so great to like talk to a storyteller who like he's doing it. And a real nice guy too.
All I got to say to you real quick is I want to give a big round of applause to us for that intro, guys. Way to intro this dude. We're sitting here talking for 3 weeks about him coming on, and we fucking fumbled the intro right out the... Oh, dude.
That's the only thing we didn't talk about in our pre-meeting.
Yes.
Was who's actually going to introduce him.
Way to fumble the intro.
I guess, you know what, though? I think that's what really broke it in and made it fun.
Making him work off the bat.
Making him work for it right off the bat, huh?
I think that intro. It's going to be a fun time. We're just a bunch of wild and crazy guys. But now we're going to get into our next segment. Now that 2 out of 5 of us have left,
right?
But we're going to get into our crazy.
Marco had to go tell his kid that hippo wins, so that's where he went.
We're going to get into our craziest con story. So, you know what, Travis? You're the guest tonight. What was your craziest? Unless you want Matt to go first.
No, I don't have like I got a feeling that maybe I should go first because I don't think mine's that crazy. You know, I've maybe been to a handful of cons, like 9 or 10 cons, and nothing particularly crazy. I do. One of the things that with cons is I love going to cons. Is you always go with a buddy. Always do some long box diving. It's fun to just like devote an afternoon or a day or two to just going through long boxes and talking with your buddies. But check this out. What about this one? But every now and then you get to mingle with the people of the con, and some of those people are hot. Sometimes you get some like hot vendor women. And I remember this one time we were going through the stalls and
sliding books under for people to sign.
Yeah, sliding books under for sign. But there was this gorgeous woman who was dressed in a tight t-shirt with Mary Jane on it, Mary Jane Watson in it. Just this beautiful woman. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to this girl. And my buddy's like, oh, you're gonna talk to her. It's a con. You're a nerd. Like she's baiting herself. Like she put that shirt on for a reason. She's just trying to get nerds to come to her booth. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to that booth. And I get there.
You're like, mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. Yeah, I'm like kind of doing this whole thing where I'm like, hey, what's going on? You got some prints here you're selling? These are nice prints. Immediately, my nose just starts gushing blood. Just gushing blood. So I'm sitting there like in like a nerd like t-shirt, you know, some probably like Star Wars shirt or something like that. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like and just buckets of blood start going. She must be like, I made this fucking nerd's nose bleed. What a fucking nerd.
I'm so hot. His nose
was so hot. I'm like, these are nice prints you have here. May I inquire on their price of purchase? And just blood. And my buddy's like, dude, you're bleeding. I'm just like, oh shit. Like, you can't get digits after that. You can't get digits after that.
Nah, it's hard. It's hard to do the pickup.
Yeah. Too much picking, no picking up. Is what happened probably.
Oh shit.
I don't know. I think you're charismatic enough. I think he's still gonna pull it off.
Come back with just like some tissue stuffed in your nostrils, be like, so what I was saying about those prints. But yeah, nothing cool. No one
should have been like, this is my cosplay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you sure you weren't a character in an anime? There you go.
That's true.
What about you? Go next, Kyle, because me and you have kind of a lot of them that run together. I want to see which one you're going to tell before.
For a number of years now, Matt has been my Comic-Con partner in crime. So, you know what? The first one I'm going to start out with is here locally in Arizona is we used to do, when we were part of Absolute Geek, we used to do a few, there was a few other shows we did with Travis being one of them. Another one was called Couch Crunchers. So we had this little thing we were trying to have this little community of podcasts. Well, Frank Caliendo lives here in Arizona. And one of the podcasts thought it was a great idea. I'm going to start with this one. Thought it was a great idea to go for some reason and think that Frank Caliendo wants to join our dumbass little fucking podcast collection. So he had this whole marketing scheme and this whole thing, and he thought he was Mr. Smart Guy, and he was going to come up, and he walks in. He thought his guns were fucking blazing. He's like, Frank Caliendo, I want to talk to you about joining our network, joining our group of podcasts. And he was like, and Matt and I are sitting like earshot from him. And we look, and these two dudes get up and then Frank gets up, and they like surround him. And you could tell it was like chum had just been put in the water. And these motherfuckers went after him. And the look on this poor dude's face, all he wanted to do was get Frank to come on the podcast. It's probably really all he wanted. Frank is like sitting there going, what do you know about advertising? What do you know about branding? What's your brand? And you're like, they went after him. And I was like, oh, ouch. And I see the color just leak from this dude's face. He went from pale white to paler white. In the sweat. You can see the sweat just running down. And Frank Kalan, man, that motherfucker went after him with no regret or no remorse. Right, Matt?
Yep. That's pretty brutal to watch.
We sat there and watched, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. I don't even know. It's like time stood still. It
was more entertaining than anything else that was going on at the convention.
Oh my God, I was laughing my ass off. It was so funny. And I felt so bad for him at the same time. And I was just like when like you're in that scary movie, you're like, oh. That was me watching them talk to Frank Caliendo. Ooh, ouch, that hurt. I thought that was just, it was just a disaster. Because Frank Caliendo just like took over the whole convention. And then like, this dude just thought he was going to walk up with swag and be like, join our shit, dude. And that motherfucker ate him alive, chewed him up, spit him out, and you're fucking muted, Marco. And you're still muted.
I didn't say anything. I was just thinking.
Okay.
Like, what was going on in that dude's head? Like, I want to like the after story. Like, you talk to that dude afterwards, been like, man, that was a bad beating, bro. What were you thinking about when you were walking up to him, telling him how he needs to get on your brand?
Dude, there's more to the story. Corbin was kind of involved because he was doing a podcast with this guy here called Comic Book Playground. So Corbin kind of set it up for them to meet, and I think there's some miscommunication there, and it just kind of blew up in dude's face.
Kyle's just like,
yeah. It literally was. We were probably 10 feet away from him, and we're sitting there drinking our Wild Bill's soda. Yeah, and just watching chaos go down.
There's many times I put my hand on my stomach, and I was like, ooh. I was just like, fuck, dude. He's
like the dude had a boy's hat on, and Frank was like, you don't even rep your brand. Look, your hat is you're wearing someone else's brand. And like Frank was just like ripping into him, and it was hard to watch. But
we did not stop it. It was it was like a car accident. I was like this the entire time. Like I was like, ooh.
Well, what are you gonna do? You can't stop that. You're just gonna be part of the fodder at that point. If you jump in there, you're like, I'm not getting.
No, I don't know. If it's one of my boys and they're getting look, I mean, hey, look, B-lister, let me tell you something. What's your brand? Because I don't even know who you are, and then take your boy out of there. Then do the loop. Give him the one drop off and go. But you guys apparently were boys. You guys apparently were boys.
When people talk about when people talk about brands, it's so disgusting when they bring up the idea of a brand.
You make fun of them.
Yeah. It's
like the worst part was like
your brand's being short and douchebag. Like, okay, good brand.
Yeah.
Frank had flown these two other dudes from this podcast in Philly in to like help him cover the convention, and those two guys were going at him, like grilling him about like this. It was hard to watch. It was
you got to pull him out there.
It was rough. It was rough. There was no pulling him out. Who else was
that's when you train yourself to make your nose bleed and then
your nose bleed.
Yeah,
pretend you're a hot chick and make your nose bleed.
There was one I kind of was asking earlier because I actually have lots of good. I heard what Travis said. I have lots of good experiences at cons. Like I love them. Like even when it goes bad, they're going good for me. You know what I mean? And there's two, but one of them the first one I was like, maybe I'll do this one. But I talked to Kyle. He said the second one was good. I was at a con one time, and dang, it's getting late. And I'm forgetting stuff. What her real name is, but the original Wonder Woman,
Linda Carter.
Yeah, Linda Carter. Showed up at a con, but she I actually want to go back to this place where they had it because I don't even really remember how it happened, but she was up in like what would be the equivalent of a skybox, but it's in a convention center. So like I don't understand how she was up there or whatever, but like everybody else, every year they'd get down and they'd have like whatever the big supposed star was. Like one time they had the guy who played Colossus come up and talk to everybody in the line. Like he plays Colossus. Who the fuck cares what he looks like? But whatever, I mean, you don't know. He's like some tall guy, but so they had her there one time and it was weird. And it was like, okay, a lot of people knew she hasn't really been acceptive of like the whole Wonder Woman and comic book place. So you're like, it's kind of weird for her to show up. But they were also selling like these personal like dinner / concert for her to go to, right? So she gets on and they're like, we've got Linda Carter up here, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's looking around like, where is she? Because they usually have them like walking on the floor, walking towards the signature and talking to them while they're doing that. In this case, it wasn't. She was up in like this area where you really couldn't see her that well. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, I didn't really care that much. But the comments that she made really turned my head. And she said something, and I'm not quoting her because it's been a couple of years, but to the effect of like, yeah, I've never really been into cons, never really gone to them. I don't like people at cons. I wouldn't walk on the floor of a con pretty much. But I'm here because you guys are willing to pay for my concert. And I didn't know that people at cons would come and watch me sing. And when they offered me the ability to sing in front of people, and I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody's here to hear you sing, right? Like they all just watch her signature, and you had to get her signature. You had to buy the concert tickets and everything else like that. So I'm not looking at the comment because I don't want to laugh at it, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a great one.
But yeah, I mean, that is good. But yeah, that was it. So she's on there and she's going on this tangent about like, oh, well, you comic book people, and saying stuff like that, like while she's talking to them. And the tickets, by the way, for her personal singing concert and one signature, I think they were like ridiculous, like $800 a pop or something like that. Woo-hoo! And like pretty much said that that she's like, but I like you people because you're coming to see my concert. And pretty much was telling everybody, I'm not here to sign stuff. I'm not here to be Wonder Woman. I'm not here to walk on the con floor. By the way, and she's saying this while she's like way perched up and like no way you could even like hardly see her, but look to her and like talking down to everybody on the con floor.
Frank Caliendo comes out, was like, know your brand.
Yeah, know your brand, lady. So needless to say, I mean, that's just somebody, even if I got free tickets, I'm ripping that shit up and throwing it in the toilet. You can fuck yourself.
I think some of those celebrities that come that never been to con, they don't understand that world. They don't understand why people are there, the love they have for these things, and they think it's an appearance. It's much more than appearance. You're entering a world. Behave accordingly.
Yeah, she's definitely and then she got into like some of the issues why she like I understand there might have been some stuff going on there, but this isn't the time. Like a con isn't.
She didn't want to get into it.
A con isn't when we're expressing. No, she wanted to get all into it. A con isn't expressing what happened back in the day with Wonder Woman either. Like in the middle of like, hey, there's little kids on the floor. Like probably talking about why you don't like cons or playing the Wonder Woman character wasn't. And then she ended up showing up in a Wonder Woman like 5 years later, which is also fucked up. But whatever. So that was one. And another con that was really bad was I walk around and I was looking at, there's a certain sound that something makes, and this was a crazy one. We were looking around for books, and after like the digging and everything else, like around the last day, you go just to see what's left on people's walls years ago, because like some of the last cons of the year, you could get some pretty good deals. All of a sudden, we kept hearing throughout this con just like in this certain area, and I'm like, what the hell is that, right? So the last day, actually, I was with Dino, the guy that does the Monday show. Check it out if you guys haven't seen the Monday show.
The CEO.
From the the CEO.
What does it sound like when the books fall?
He was like, yeah. So anyway, you told him what it was. It's books falling. So we're looking, and he's like, hey, dude, have you seen this wall? And I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, oh, there's some crazy noises and shit going on here earlier. And he picks up the books, and I'm like, holy shit. And they're cool, and the prices were like okay on it. And I was like, we'll make a D. Nope. Each one of them on the bottom corner, they're dented. We put back 3 books. Just as the guy puts the third back book up, the wall tilts again, and you just see the books are falling off.
It went like this though.
Yeah. Well, the cracking, it wasn't cracking anymore because the cracking was the CGC cases that had been falling off of his wall the whole weekend. So it was like this weird noise of that. So when he's like, oh, yeah, I'll work on these books and everything else. I was like, yeah, we're good or whatever. And then Dino's like, well, do you have anything great? He's like, yeah, I do. And starts pulling up. He's like, yeah, but they kind of fell off the wall too. He readjusts his wall. In the amount of time that took him to readjust the wall, put some more things up, the wall falls again, and the book starts sliding off and hitting the ground again. And I was like, oh my God, dude, the whole weekend, your books have just like at some point you just stop putting up the wall, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't just keep putting new stuff up there.
It's like Mr. Bean runs a comic stall at a con.
And it wasn't a small con. It was like a major regional con. So it would be like, I mean, it wasn't like New York or San Diego, but it would be like, like a Motor City or Heroes or something to that effect. It was a pretty decent con. And for all that stuff to fall in, I mean, why at one point you give up, right? Like well, I guess that's why would you keep putting up the wall? I don't get it. But those are my 2 horror stories from cons. Nothing too crazy.
Oh, man. I don't know which one to tell, Kyle. Going to a convention with a Kyle is always a good time. So our first San Diego Comic-Con, we ended up going together. And we went with it was me, Kyle, and my buddy Kalan, who we used to also have to geek with us. Yep.
It was a good time.
And we all went, and the second night we were there, Kyle flew in, and we were like, all right, Kyle and I were like, all right, well, we're going to get a hotel for the one night. We'll crash at Kyle's for another night and then get another hotel room for the last night we were there. So we go back, the convention's over, we go back to the hotel, and we're all like, well, look, we're going to go back to the convention and see what's going on. Because San Diego, it's huge. Everyone parties downtown. There's after parties you can go to. So much cool stuff. So we get on the shuttle from the airport to go back to the convention. And as we're driving around, we notice that the shuttle passes the exit once, comes around again, and we're at the hotel again, passes it again, and it passes a third time, and we're not stopping at a hotel. We're not stopping at the convention center. Nowhere. So then the bus driver starts complaining about how she's lost, and she's complaining about being lost, and like my buddy Kellen starts tweeting this, and he's live tweeting this whole thing. Like people are like, this is my hotel, and they're not stopping, and they just keep going. So at one point the woman pulls in this weird parking lot, gets off the bus, and just has a manic breakdown because she doesn't know where she's going. Nothing. She has a manic breakdown in the middle of San Diego.
I thought she started crying.
Yeah, doesn't and has no idea where she's going. So then she tries to like back into this lot to ask someone directions how to get back to the convention center. We probably spent 2.5 hours on a 15-minute trip to go back from our hotel to the convention center.
We called it Shuttlegate.
Shuttlegate, yes. And then so as we're coming back, my buddy Kellen's like, hey, that's our stop. Let's get off here. He made us get off the bus 2.5 miles away from our hotel. So we got off the bus and then had to walk 2.5 miles back to our hotel.
After we'd been walking the convention floor from open to close.
Yes.
Just
and
stinking, you stink, you're tired. That's awful.
And
so on top of that is so we're to go ahead. I know where you're gonna get, Matt, and then I'll get to the other point.
What so we had another friend with us, Gabe, and in the hotels you could only have the person who's registered to the hotel in there. So like Gabe snuck in, said he was Kyle. So as we come back, Kyle has to lie. And like we had to sneak in the back way into the hotel room.
So sneak into my own hotel room
with
Matt and Kalan about because they had pulled in because they ask everybody, who are you? What number is your hotel room? Everything. And he's like, so he texted me and he was like, dude, you're gonna have to sneak in. I was like, what the fuck do you mean I have to sneak in? I paid for the goddamn hotel room. I told him I was you. I was like, no way. You gotta sneak in. So let me know when you're close. I'm gonna open the door. You guys have to run in real quick so nobody catches you. And I was like, oh my God. Fuck. So that's what we ended up having to do is we had to sneak into our own hotel room. And we had gotten a 1-bedroom. I had only gotten a one. We got them our tickets kind of late. And most of the hotels were taken, and so I had gotten just one for one person, a 1-person hotel room, and it ended up being me, a guy named Gabe, Matt, Kellen.
That was it.
And that was it. And okay, first off, I can't sleep in hotel rooms. I don't sleep. If I'm on vacation, I can only sleep
because of your night terrors.
Because of my night terrors. And I have to sleep with lights on. I have to sleep with the TV on, and nobody else sleeps like that. So the beds there are covered in like this. So like it's covered in this plastic coating, I guess, so you don't get sperm and shit on it. I guess I don't know. But since everybody was there, I had given away pillows, blankets to everybody, sheets. So like Kellen and Matt are on the floor. I'm on this bed that's got this weird plastic coating on it. Our buddy Gabe is like sleeping on 2 chairs.
No, it was like a built-in bench. Like they had like a built-in breakfast nook like bench with a table. And so Gabe's like curled up on this little bench.
But I can't sleep. And I can't sleep on time. So the whole night you hear me going dragging my body across the plastic trying to get comfortable. I can't get comfortable.
Now, if we combine your plastic sounds with the books falling off the shelf, we got a nice little beat going. It goes like boys. This. Yeah. There it is. All right.
As this story goes on, all I'm picturing is the spoons in my silverware drawer, just all laying right after another.
Well, like so Kyle was in the bed.
Silver spoons,
I was on the floor, and they were hardwood floors. So I was on the floor at the bottom of the bed. Kellen was like in how you go to there's like the bathroom, and then they have like the vanity outside. That's where Kellen's sleeping. It's underneath like the counter there, and then Gabe is on this little nook. And that's when the fucking funny thing happens.
So I can't sleep. Everyone's kind of sleeping. I can't sleep. I'm up. So I'm sitting there, just laying there, and Gabe's like moving back and forth. And as he's moving and kicking and shit, he has it. There was this cool thing that if you could order booze to your
room,
to your hotel room, and I was like, that's the greatest thing ever. So I ordered a shitload of booze, and I went and I went and got, how you go when you go get a hotel room, you always go fill up your ice bucket. So I
never do that.
You don't do that?
I never open up a hotel room like, where's that goddamn ice bucket? I gotta fill the shit up.
It's the first thing I do. I gotta get ice so I can start making drinks, and you know what I mean? I gotta start mixing it, and so I went and I got ice, and it melted, so it's sitting there. And he's moving, and as it's moving closer to him. So I'm like, I wonder what's gonna happen with this. I don't bother moving the water, and it's ice cold water. It's ice and it's water, and I'm like, he bumps it. It goes a little bit closer to him. I'm like, this is gonna turn out bad. So I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna watch. I'm not gonna say shit. And eventually, I'm like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes. It's teetering on the side. There's a whole bucket of ice water. He moves. Finally. Took like a half hour, 45 minutes to finally get that water to dump on him. It was great.
Dude, you hear him scream in the middle of the night, what the fuck? And then you hear Kyle chuckle, and he's like, I watched that happen. You're like, dude, you could have prevented that, and you didn't. He's like,
no, I didn't. Like, no, I was letting nature play itself out. I didn't want to intervene.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Elliot was saying, which I thought was such a great idea, is having your bachelor party at a con. I never even thought about that idea of like just taking your nerdy friends and going to a con for a bachelor party.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I don't think he might have been the highlight of that party.
But like the whole thing, like going back to the convention, we ended up going to the Hard Rock, and then that's where I got like the Death Stare and fucking Foggy Nelson, aka Fulton from Mighty Ducks, out on the patio eating and drinking like that's fucking Fulton from Mighty Ducks, and he turns on and just shoots me like this death look. Like of all the things I've done, that's who you want to compare me to. Is Fulton from Mighty Ducks. Like,
you know what, Gonzo? I'm a ton of fun to have a room with. No. I just can't sleep. No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. No. Well, the next time we went to San Diego, I was a little bit better.
Yes. Well, yeah, because that was the time where I had just pitched a show to Adult Swim, and I came over for a Robert Kirkman signing. I was covered in sweat because it was fucking humid as shit that day. And we get in line to get signs, autographs from Robert Kirkman, and Kirkman signs my book, and he was like, "Do you want a picture?" And I was like, "I would, but I'm all sweaty. I don't want to do that." And he's like, "Oh, well, whatever. Just sign your book and away you go, huh?" And Kyle walks up and he's like, "Yeah, man, what a dick." And Robert Kirkman's like, "Yeah, you're a fucking dick." And I was the time fucking Kyle got Kirkman to call me a dick. One of the biggest comic book writers in comics calls me a fucking dick because I was trying not to be the sweaty nerd that was stinky next to him.
That guy's a fucking dick.
Yeah. And there's Kyle still has the picture of it too, where he's fucking getting all happy with fucking Kirkman after getting me called a dick.
It's one of those where I thought I looked really cool in the picture. And I was going like, and I was like, no.
Yeah, nothing bonds people together more than a good dick joke. So that's you
Dick
guys have like a
jokes
thing now. You had a moment.
We had a dick thing.
Yeah, dick thing.
So that was Solo.
Solo, you got one?
I've never been to a con, so
I've been to
I really
a few
don't
small
know what
ones.
to do.
I've never really been.
How do you think he gets his Gandalf cosplay in? That's at cons.
I've all my experiences have been pretty pleasant. I mean,
We haven't been to a con with me yet.
When I go in public, it's either great or just terrible, and I leave. But last night I had quite the experience. It was kind of fun, but now all my con experiences have been pretty darn good. I've had really good times.
I forgot about that one.
Way to top off the story chain there, Solo.
Well,
maybe you should have gone first.
We went to
everything is great or everything sucks.
We went out to dinner last night, and my girl got kind of hangry and had a guy had some words with her and didn't know that I was with her. And when I came out and
I don't even care. It's not a con story. It really doesn't matter.
Great story, Hansel.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was funny. I sat
Who the fuck
down.
put you back in the chat? Why is he still telling the story? Doesn't he get the hint? Everything's great at cons, but I'm going to tell you when I went out to dinner last night. No.
I like cons. I have a con to get to in the morning, boys.
No one cares
Night,
about
Marco.
Marco.
Thank you. Later.
Do you want to cover Doc Hark or no?
Yes.
But
Please.
There's other good con stories that we can say for another time. I saw TK. He's an old listener. Fucking the bread
just
story.
He kicked out for no reason.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go ahead and move into comic book reviews here. Marco has been waiting a long time to talk about this.
Yeah, it's the best book out this week by far.
You're a fucking liar there, but okay.
This is the best book out this week.
Yeah, that was the best book out this week. But this is the second best book out this week.
Okay,
it's Dark Hawk. Look, you're either a fan of Dark Hawk or you're not. Like the comedy of like Dark Hawk 1 for all the years being joked around about how, it's a collector's item and everything else, and then it turns into like an actual collector item. It's pretty funny. The actually storylines aren't that bad. Are we going to have some slides here? Or I'm just
so as I went to go put up the slides, they all disappeared. So I just got to really quick adjust something.
So this is what they did in this one. It's kind of like a one shot, I guess, but really a 3-shot. And they did something cool. They decided to take
better than a twofer.
What?
That's better than a twofer.
It kind of was a twofer though. Like the third story is a little soft, little limp. Damn. The
Gonzo, I don't know.
Yeah, Gonzo Darkhawk. It was good. They did one story where they brought in the original writing team and the original artist to
I got your
the original writing teams and the original artist to go over the
cue up the slides
books. And it was pretty cool. Not. Still not queuing up. Okay, awesome.
No slides. Whatever. Keep going.
I got you.
Thanks a lot.
So anyways,
It almost looks
first
like
cover, it's in Hop Lee.
uh-huh.
Pretty cool. So they broke it up into 3 different portions. Next slide, please, Matt, if you could. Nope, that's the third one. Perfect. Okay, good. We have this in reverse order. Awesome. This is
Hey, man. Which slide do you want?
I want this. I want the first slide I gave you after the open page slide.
That's it.
No, I want the second slide.
That's it.
Oh,
The way you sent them was out of order. Then.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. So that went well. Good job. All right.
Good job with the good job, Marco.
Are you fucking? Did you read the book? I mean,
This is how you said that.
All right, so go
This
right
is what
there.
you
There you go. So here we go. So the first 2 stories here are pretty cool. They got the original artist and the original writer of Darkhawk, the original series. They put it out here. Did one story called "Cry of the City" on it. The second one, obviously, you've heard me talk about Realm of Kings before. A Long Way Home was done by the writers from that series. So they did 2 of these cool stories. So now, next slide. Well, it doesn't matter what slide we say because they're all perfect. That looks great. In the first story, great. Yeah, you just
Yo, DJ, drop that book drop beat.
here we go. We're gonna go back. So they brought back Savage Steel in here. For those that didn't know, Savage Steel was like one of the first enemies of Darkhawk. He was a bunch of different type of characters. In this book, they did something really cool. Next slide. They end up showing that it's his. Oh, okay, good enough. Somewhere in there, they end up showing that it's his dad.
New York in there.
yeah, right.
Dude, look. This is how you sent them to me, all right?
I did not see
time-
Maniac of New York in it. No.
Then Harry shows up, and then things get off the rails.
Yeah.
That's
Harry kills people in the middle of this book. What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
This is what you did. Listen,
That's not what I did.
this is what you did, yes, because this is exactly what you sent.
Marco, you're supposed to keep these boys in line, man.
It's too late at this point. I said I was about to leave, and they. I get it that not everybody likes Darkhawk. That's funny to put it out of order in Maniacs in New York. On that note, though, really cool. If you like Darkhawk, they did an original throwback. They made his dad Savage Steel now, which was kind of cool. That was interesting because it always wasn't that way. So that was pretty cool to do that.
We're gonna do it like this then.
Jesus.
No.
We're gonna slow scroll this shit.
Oh, okay. The second storyline had to deal. It was pretty cool because they had like a little bit of the War of the Kings thing, like an afterthought of the War of the Kings, where there was no Nova anymore. Everybody was pretty much gone, and Darkhawk was just like randomly going to
Iron
bars.
Face.
He was randomly going to bars.
Yeah. He's randomly going to bars, and he walks into this one bar. And all of a sudden, there's an alien species in there, the Brew, and the Brew are actually posing as people and like trying to eat them.
That's a pretty good villain for a bar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I get that. The double entendre. Oops, too big of a word. I mean, that they make somebody word with another word. Anyway, so they had the Brood in there, and the Brood ends up, he fights that they're infecting him, and they fight, which is pretty cool. That's the second one coming down here. There you go. Yeah, that bartender there. See, he's just randomly walking into bars. Anyways, both of them were pretty good. They weren't anything spectacular, but they did bring a little nostalgia back.
Is that Nebula?
No, it's just some random alien that actually isn't being mutated by
that Venom?
Brood. No, that's the tongue of the Brood inside breeding with the aliens.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't read this. I didn't read this issue, but I would like to recommend Lady Hawk, the 1985 film starring Michelle Pfeiffer. If you like Nighthawk. I believe they go together.
What if you like Darkhawk? What if you like Darkhawk?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Darkhawk, Darkwing Duck, whatever. Any kind of
cool.
Yeah.
So the third story was pretty much just a setup because they're gonna now release a new story with a new writer team and new artist team, and it's going to be pretty much Darkhawk is in space. He has to give up his Raptor's amulet, much like he found one. It looks like it might go someone new, so they might pull one of those Sam Nova type storylines. Kind of looks like that. You see the ship dying here, and then there we go. All right,
into space.
No, I know, Marco. You got to go, but I want to ask you a question. So I don't know much about Darkhawk. If you had to like pitch the character, like as far as like what's different about this character that is intriguing to you? What makes it? Is it just
nothing?
The
it's just
story
90s.
itself?
Yeah, it's 90s nostalgia of everything that's wrong in comics, but it was great back then. Like he's got a Wolverine claw. Pull up that last picture. He's got like Wolverine claw. He's got like chromium like plating. He He's a person who found an ambulance. It's every single thing. He's got wings.
Oh, so you're kind of like enjoying it. You can enjoy it ironically almost.
Yeah.
Like
The beginning part was kind of ironically, and then when they brought him back, I actually really liked War Kings.
This is a great photo. This perfectly sums up exactly what you were talking about.
This is Darkhawk. Yeah, and it's so for years, Travis, too, Darkhawk has kind of been like a running joke in certain comic communities about like it kind of stresses the 90s of number ones. Like it'd always be like
amalgams and stuff like that.
Look what I just found in the 50 cents. I can't believe somebody had this in the 50 cent thing. It's a Darkhawk 1, and like people would bring it out. I should grade this 9.8. Well, then this last couple of years happened, and now the book's like, I don't know what the book is, but it's not a 50 cent book anymore. It's like got up there. So like, it's kind of funny because people had been just like joking around about it and like, this is what's wrong with comics. The bubble's going to burst. 90s comics here. And now it's like, I don't know, man. You should have probably picked up more Dark. I actually enjoyed it. Like it was weird. It was like all those team ups that they had, like the New Warriors, the Nomad, when they brought Nomad out in the 90s, all those 90s Marvel characters, Darkhawk summed them all up into one. He's got the Wolverine claw. He can fly. Alien. He kind of mutated because of the Raptors thing. And as corny as he was through the first series of that 80s, 90s series, then they brought him back into War Kings. And he really became like an international thing and a big part of it. And they changed it around a little bit. And then even in Infinity, leading up to this stuff, he actually had more of an integral role. And they played this back and forth with, if you were really given this amulet from like crazy alien species, how to play out. And they kind of built up the character to be better than he was. And then in this one right here, when you see him go back to the original characters, like they made his dad his number one villain. And you get to see the two sides of like, because they were always doing something with Savage Steel.
Isn't that many of our number one villain?
That they're his dad? That they're their dad? No, usually their dads die. Like Batman's dad dies.
I know what you're saying, Kyle, and yes,
I get what you're saying,
people
Kyle.
on this podcast, we probably all have daddy issues.
Not me. I actually like my dad.
Luke Skywalker's dad dies.
Why don't you play baseball, son? I'm reading X-Men, Dad. Leave me alone.
Speaking of people who like their dad, let's move on to this.
Okay.
This Darkhawk train wreck, and let's move on to Super Sons. How about that, Kyle? How's Super Sons treat you?
Good job. You're doing a good job with
I'm an overall fan of Super Sons. I think it was a really fun read. It's, you know what I mean? It starts out with them. They're in school, and then it is a time jump, and I still think it's them. That's them as old men playing video games. But what happens is they go back in time, and then this other lady meets them in time and gives them this scroll. And what the first scroll does is it when they finally get to see what it is, when lightning hits it, it's Flash. So they go to see Flash because they got to figure out what the scroll means. So once they get the Flash, John jumps out, gets lightning to strike the scroll, and it comes up and ends up being Wonder Woman. And that's what ends up kind of happening with. That's the general basis of this challenge of Super Sons. What happened to Marco?
He left.
You mentioned Wonder Woman. He has Linda Carter issues, so he left.
But that's kind of what happens. Is this girl?
You kind of went over multiple issues here. This is supposed to be just issue 1.
When they run into the lady, that was it.
Yeah,
stop.
But
that was issue 1. No, it's all in the book.
Because the first volume of this is out, right, in trade.
So this was put out as a DC digital comic.
I read it all in this one.
That's because it's put together.
Oh, then it's put together. Then
it's 1 of 7.
Yeah, it's 1 through 7. It's
1 of 7.
What are you showing? I can't see.
That's not all in what I read.
That's 1 of 7.
Because
I read it straight from the book.
It's a 12 issues. There's on issue 12. So yeah, there's probably multiple issues put together. But this was put out as a DC digital comic during COVID, the beginning of COVID, when Diamond was shut down and all that. So this was being released as a DC digital, and now it's being put into print.
Good. So when they asked us to do more DC, I'm glad we chose Super Sons to screw it up on.
What do you mean screw it up? I read the book from beginning to end.
He did.
I actually read the book. I didn't actually read the digital copy.
Yeah.
But you're liking it, Kyle?
I only like Super Sons. I love the way Tomasi writes Super Sons. I thought it was funny. I thought it's funny how, no matter what's going to happen, Damian and John are just never going to truly get along. And I think that's what makes this work. Like in the beginning, one part that I liked was that, Jonathan had been working on this story of, he was going to blow up this story of what was this scandal that's going on in the school. Damian had already figured it out a long time ago, sent the evidence to the principal, and that was it. The guy was getting fired the next day. And Jonathan's like, I wanted to be in the paper, and I wanted to write it. I want to be a good writer. Damian's like, forget all that. You know what I mean? And then, but overall, these Super Sons books are always a great read. They're always a ton of fun.
Cool.
And
so that relationship's the crux of the books, as far as like what you like about it.
That they never quite get along. It's always oil and water.
Cool.
Yeah, but they do get along. But it's funny how they talk crap to like Damian. Like even the teacher at one point's like, "Oh, this rich little spoiled dick." He's
a dick.
Yeah, and like he at one point goes, "Yeah, I can't." They took away my vehicle. Alfred took away my vehicles, and so he's like, "I need a ride," and he means like riding on the back of Jonathan Kent's back, like through all this stuff. It is really good. Like the back and forth. It's like brothers. You know what I mean? Like and one brother's a dick, and the other brother's like the grade A student that's trying to get through it. So
they're getting ready to go fight crime, and Damian rips his shirt, and he's like, "Come on!" Jonathan Kent is easily unbuttoning it, and he's like, "My dad tells me I'm ripping too many shirts."
It's that stuff that makes this a fun game.
Fun. Yeah,
but is this not how the digital copy ended?
No.
So it went longer. The regular actual.
Yeah, it's like I think it's 1.5.
The digital copy ends right where she shows up to give him the scroll.
See, you don't get to see the super ship.
Nope. Thanks for spoilers. All the spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. It's in the first issue.
He's got a valid point. It's in the first issue.
He does. I know.
I'm not spoiling anything.
He does.
So in this, with the super ship, is they're trying to find something.
By the way, it's also all out in digital too. So he's actually not spoiling. Like it's been out in digital for like months.
Yeah. But it's kind of it's just a fun read. I've always enjoyed Super Sons. I think it's just because it's lighthearted. It's just it's just a fun read. So,
DC wise, we also had Joker this week. The big thing with Joker was the introduction of Bane's daughter, and kind of this conversation that there's a lot of debate about this book before it came out on Tuesday. I think Bleeding Cool broke a bunch of spoilers about it, but there's a big conversation between Alfred and Batman, and I think it's worth it. Great conversation.
Commissioner Gordon.
Sorry, Commissioner Gordon. Thank you for that correction. Commissioner Gordon and Batman. How Commissioner Gordon is going to go look for the Joker after the events of Joker War, and he's going to kill him for what happened to his son, and he doesn't want to tell Batman that. And then he admits to, he's asking Batman for help. He wants access to the Bat computer, and he wants a cell phone to call Batman. And Batman's stipulation is when he finds the Joker, he wants Gordon to call him to turn the Joker over, and then he also wants to send a kind of a chaperone for him to make sure that Gordon doesn't try to kill the Joker. So he contacts Oracle. Gordon admits that he knows Oracle is Barbara, and they have that whole conversation between those two. And
notable for those two conversations, as you mentioned, but I really like the Gordon and Barbara conversation, even that phone stuff where there's this conversation about a phone that feels very modern, daughter, dad, like I got you a phone, I made it red because you lose phones. That felt really good. And also the setup of this criminal underworld that creates safe houses for villains to kind of chill out in between their big massacres or whatever it is.
So now, yeah, so like this criminal underworld is going after the Joker now. Gordon's going after the Joker. Batman wants to end the Joker. Then you find out that the Quarter Owls are joining the party, and they have business to try and take out the Joker too. So pretty much all aspects of Gotham are turning to hunt the Joker.
A lot's done in this issue. They're able to hit like several points in this issue, from the personal relationships to actually moving the story forward to that big, as you see right here on the screen, the big reveal of Bane's daughter coming out of there. Strong issue.
I'd be happy to never see Gordon in sweatpants again.
Gordon's jacked in this. He's like keto Gordon.
But you get Bane's daughter. That's the big one. If you watch the Hot 10 this week, of course, everyone should be watching the Hot 10. That was the big number one variant cover, was the variant to this issue with the Bane's daughter on the cover. So there's the Court Owls, and that's it for Joker. What else we got this week? Let's do this one. We showed it during the beginning of the show, the Hive cover. We'll go ahead and talk Shadow Spider. This is a kind of one of those what if series written by Chip Zdarsky. What if Peter Parker was Venom? It runs through kind of a lot of stuff you saw before. Peter dealing with the suit and the symbiote taking over, and kind of what's going on and how the symbiote thinks for itself. And he kind of deals with the fact that the symbiote is making him more angry and more rage filled, and kind of amplifying that to where, he's having bad dreams, and it's feeding off his dreams to a point where he pushes Mary Jane, which was interesting to me, is that you never see Mary Jane without red hair. She's kind of got red highlights, but it's kind of weird that they did MJ with much darker hair in this book. She's almost a brunette, not a redhead. But it kind of deals with that relationship of the suit being alive. Peter ends up going out and to clear its head, and the suit stops working for him. He comes up against Hobgoblin. He basically just about almost kills Hobgoblin, and then decides to unmask him. And then as he unmasks him, he pretty much threatens him and says, I'm done. I'm playing for keeps now. Then he goes and meets Black Cat, and their whole weird relationship.
That is weird. The Black Cat stuff, especially after comparing it to the Mary Jane stuff, it makes Peter is very unlikable in this book, as he probably should be if he's infected with a symbiont. But yeah, that's a weird scene. You're like, oh, look at Peter stepping out.
Yeah, so he goes to meets Reed Richards to get the suit tested, and Richards, tests him, and as he's asleep in the pod, he has this nightmare about Aunt May being dropped off a building, and you can kind of see him start to transform a little bit there in his dream, and he wakes up, and that's when Reed tells him that he's got to get the suit because the suit's alive and it's feeding off of him. He's got to get rid of it, and Peter pretty much tells him he's not going to do that, and he, he's becoming obsessed with the power, and he goes to visit Aunt May, and Hobgoblin, like they're saying in the chat, attacks, blows up the house, comes in, then Peter transforms again and basically beats the life out of Hobgoblin. It's not clear if he kills them, but he just literally beats the living hell out of him. And he goes back into Aunt May, and the suit won't let him go because he says that the fire that can't withstand fire, the house explodes, and Hobgoblin starts to walk away. Peter transforms again to where he kind of becomes Venom, and he says, "My God," and you see him saying he's going to finish this fight, and it's kind of a cool design, I think. But yeah, okay, yeah, he does kill him. He crushes his skull.
Yeah,
that's
he does. Yeah,
and then just leaves him there all.
That's a great last
all
panel.
webbed up. Yep. So.
Yeah. I don't know who's asking for this what if. I think this particular what if is kind of played out in the original storyline of what happens when Peter gets the symbiote and like it takes him down this dark path. I like Chip Zdarsky. I mean, it's fine. You can kind of predict what's going to happen in this story, but there are a couple of great panels like this last one and that the whole last scene that make it worth a read, at least visually, to see this kind of new take on Spidey and Venom, or Spidey and the symbiote.
kind of, I mean, this is kind of a rehash, a lot of it, other than the end, and I'm kind of interested to see where Chip Zdarsky goes with it from here. But I mean,
what's the point? What's the point of kind of pulling this out of the archive? This kind of idea of, because there's so much symbiote stuff out there now. What's new? What's your fresh take, Chip?
Right, exactly. And I honestly think Aunt May might be dead. I think we got questions on if she's alive or dead. I think she is. She died in the explosion. I think it's going to be that driving force, and I think Mary Jane will be the one that talks him out of all of this and brings him back to reality, so to speak. But yeah, like you were saying, the symbiote stuff is very played out. What is it going to be the fresh take? How do you get a fresh take on it?
And I would like to see a little bit more of the Black Cat, Mary Jane, Peter love triangle and why that's in here. And just another way to make Peter more unlikable is to have him navigate that. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. JJ says, I think it's supposed to be an ASM storyline, but more of what he, if he knowledge and given to the darkness. Yeah. So
embracing it, as opposed to constantly fighting it.
I like the design. I think the design's cool, but we'll see what happens. Now, the last book we got this week is going to be Thor 14, a Thor book that has actually fantastic art in it, and they know how to draw Beta Ray Bill. Finally a book that we know how to draw Beta Ray Bill in. Thor 14, the final issue in the series for Prey, ending the story arc. I like the way this ended. It ends with Donald Blake standing there ready to face off against Asgard, Odin, Loki, Lady Sif, Beta Ray Bill, Thor, Frog Thor, pretty much everyone. And Donald Blake wants to be alive. That's essentially what all this is for Donald Blake to be alive, wanting to be alive. He says, if I wish to live, that is all I ever wanted. So Thor, he's been doing all this to extract his revenge against Odin because he wants to, for how he was treated. And him and Thor go at it. Thor took over the body of the Celestial. Do you want to jump in, Kyle? Were you going to say something? Okay. Donald Blake summons Mjolnir and he's getting ready to attack, and then Thor knocks him out, but pretty much punched him in the face.
Great panel, that face punch panel.
That's
a fantastic panel in the book.
Yeah. Knocking the tooth out. Thor summons Mjolnir back from him. So you think Odin does. Sorry, not Thor. Odin's like, that's enough. Mjolnir calls him to me. And you think he grabs it, and Beta Ray Bill says nay. And Beta Ray Bill grabs Mjolnir. And now you're getting into where the Beta Ray Bill tie-in from last week comes in to find out that he is now transformed back into his horse-faced version. And he starts laying house, and with the help of Strange, they start attacking Donald Blake. Strange has him all wrapped up, and Odin says, basically, you're done, and he's going to sentence him to death in prison. And that's when Thor steps in and kind of takes Mjolnir back from him, and he says, I'm the king of Asgard now. I'm going to deal with this the way I want to deal with it. And he tells Odin to go back to where he's from, where he's been, and say hi to his mommy for him. And he commands Strange to release him. Loki comes to him. Basically, he says, Loki, what should I do with him? And Loki decides to take him down.
Great ending on this.
Yeah. And lock him away and to sit.
You want to be a god? Okay, you're the god of this now.
Yep.
Yeah. Great story. Art is fantastic in this. It's just off house style. Just
he's the god of lies.
Of it, yeah. And that last how they set up with that and the snake and everything like that. It feels really strong.
So that's it'd be interesting. I kind of get the vibe that Cates is going to give us a dark version of Thor. We're going to get an evil version of Thor out of this.
I don't know about evil, but
yeah, because
that's how Beta Ray Bill should be drawn. Not whatever we got last week in that stinking Beta Ray Bill one shot. That's Beta Ray Bill right there. Come on, guys. Fantastic art. Well drawn, Beta Ray Bill. Just saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did great, Kyle. Great Beta Ray Bill, Kyle. Sorry to quickly run through comic book reviews this week. I know we normally go in depth, but the interview was a little bit longer than. So we're gonna just kind of get through it. But let's Falcon Winter Soldier. What do you guys think of Falcon Winter Soldier this week? Kyle, I know you're bored with it. Solo, Solo, we haven't heard from you. You still having a good time with Falcon Winter Soldier?
I love it. I think it's interesting. I think they're doing a really good job. I like the way that they're playing it. I like the way that the action just is so good.
There was a lot of action in this last episode.
Yeah, there was definitely some talky parts in this one where they were like kind of story bantering back and forth, but it was still really good, and they kept it so relevant. It was mentally entertaining, I guess, for me. But yeah, every episode is just more and more action, and it's I like it, man. I like it.
What do you guys think of the?
Yeah, I think we talked about this briefly. I mentioned this idea before the podcast started yesterday. Maybe is that when we started this podcast? You guys go. I forget the
for us. It's only 10 o'clock here.
I forget the endurance that you're eating, but it was one of the things they make very clear in the first 10 minutes is that shield and the blood. They're like, hey, don't forget the shield has blood on it. Don't forget that. Like, there's a lot of
very
shots.
Artistic shots of that.
Oh, they really wanted you to see that, and then once I accepted that, I really started to like the series from the standpoint of it. Of playing with I used this term before, that iconography of the shield and what that means to wield the shield, who can wield it, what does that mean? Is the iconography important? And we're going to be doing the Punisher next week. I was talking. I read the Punisher and that skull iconography, and where we see that today, and what groups have commodified that, or where we see that, what makes this what we think of that skull, what that means, and how it's so malleable depending on who wields it. I started thinking about that when I started thinking about the shield in this particular episode, where they really emphasize on that, which is doubled down with the conversation that Falcon has with what's the name of the Isaiah. Great conversation there. The centerpiece of the episode. Fantastic acting on that monologue that Isaiah gives. I'm not sure who the actor's name is, but does a really good job emphasizing that. And then seeing that shield again at work. There's that funny, like, he's got like a double dare course set up in his backyard.
Like Rocky montage.
Yeah. And it was funny seeing that shield, and the best scene, those nephew and the nephews are doing a great. There's that moment we've seen the shield cover of blood, but then later we see the nephews pull it out of its case and are playing with it like kids would, and Bucky wakes up and he gives him that look of like kind of smiling. The shield still means something in its original sense to some people, and that small moment was so huge there. And then later, I don't know why I didn't put this together, as in the Rocky montage, as Matt was saying, the kids turn and they go, Uncle Sam, because it's, and I'm like, oh, of course, Uncle Sam. Like,
I picked up on that too.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course you need those nephews to say that. But then it also goes back, that Uncle Sam idea. Also, kind of, I started thinking about the Harriet Beecher Stowe novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which that expression Uncle Tom comes from, and that those issues that we associate with that phrase, or that turn of phrase of Uncle Tom, are also brought into this with Falcon, as well as far as race and stuff are concerned on there. And so those nephews, two little scenes in this, but really I feel like important parts to the story, which are fun.
Well, and I like that you're getting the nod to, you're going to get a new Falcon in Joaquin when he's asking Sam what happened to the wings, and Sam leaves them, and he's like, well, what about these? And he's like, keep them.
Cool.
So you're kind of getting
what
that.
did you get from Wakanda then?
Yeah, that's
he's
what I was
getting
wondering.
the Captain America suit. He's getting his Sam Wilson Captain America costume.
Oh, really?
I thought with the way that the to me the way that the
He's gonna get the red, white, and blue costume with the red, white, and blue wings. And dude, your final episode is you're gonna have a face-to-face confrontation between Sam Wilson, Captain America, and U.S. Agent.
see, I thought the way the case was, it looked like wings, so I thought that they were giving him another pair.
Yeah, well, I'm saying he's gonna get the new wingsuit with the new Captain America costume.
I got you.
That was that whole montage is him getting ready to take his reign as Captain America.
And it seems like he's kind of finally okay with it. Yeah, I don't know what
I think the talk with that old soldier really put things in perspective for him. Is why.
Yeah,
because
that
it went
whole
very.
discussion.
That's kind of what I like to a certain degree about this episode is that like we got that big episode last week. We got the final shot of Walker there with the shield with the blood and how that left on that cliff note. But this episode kind of put the brakes on what you've been getting to get very woke in a lot of ways. And that's kind of what, he's explaining to him and that's what Isaiah says is nobody wants to see a black Captain America.
Even more important than that is no self-respecting black man would want to be Captain America. That's what hit me hard, where I was like, oh, and that's what he's struggling with. Mm-hmm. And then Bucky has to come in and have his moment. And so did that moment with Bucky wash out that comment, that last comment from Isaiah?
I think it has to do a lot with like you were saying, the shield and it means different things to different people and what it represents. And you kind of got like, him and Bucky kind of, are now coming together and working together, and they've seemed to work out their issues. And I think just kind of everything with it, and how Sam is very prideful for his time in the military and what Steve meant to him. And so he's finally going to take up that mantle. But it's interesting the way they dance around Steve Rogers in this episode. Mm-hmm. Is he alive? Is he dead? They kind of talk about him like he's not alive anymore.
Yeah, they really refer to him like he's dead and gone.
Yeah.
Past tense style.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting. But yeah, this is the first episode that they have an after credit scene. So
do you think last episode, we will see Steve Rogers?
No, I think the last episode is going to be that big confrontation between, because this whole thing is revolved around the shield. Even with the Flag Smashers, the symbol, she says the symbol of that shield, shouldn't be here anymore.
So Baron Zemo, does he work his way back into it?
I don't think so. I think he's gone, but because he's with the Wakandans now. But I think Sam's gonna open that box. He's gonna get the new costume. He's gonna be the new Captain America. You're gonna see that confrontation, and it's really going to be what that symbol of Captain America means now moving forward for the MCU, because you're going to see the fight between him and US Agent, and it's just going to all accumulate to that. And I think the big cliffhanger is going to be the reveal of the power broker, and that's going to move stories forward.
Yeah, I can see that. Makes sense.
Raven says, I wish we could get a second season of these shows, but maybe they're going to that's so good because we're not. I could see a second season of Falcon Winter Soldier. Like it just, I could see it, but I think the show ends with the big reveal of who the power broker is.
I think we see a lot more cameos or secondary play of Bucky and the Falcon and stuff coming into other shows. So maybe not a second season, but a lot more appearances of them in other stuff.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong too. They could very easily do a second season. I just don't know if that's their plan.
But even with the breaks being halted, I really liked this episode.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was good.
Yeah. It's fucking boring.
It's interesting to me that you liked WandaVision, but you find Falcon Winter Soldier boring.
I think I liked WandaVision because it was just so lighthearted. And it was just fun. Everything about it was fun. This is a little more serious.
Yeah.
And not as much. There's just that's what I liked about WandaVision. It was just fun.
I actually found WandaVision darker than this, just because of Scarlet Witch's. She seems so much more conflicted internally. You're kind of like, this is a woman going through grief and depression. That rang more true in this. I think this isn't. I will agree, Kyle, because of the political talk and the politics involved with this. This doesn't seem as kitschy or like camp as like WandaVision allowed itself to be in the background of that grief and depression. So I get that too. It almost feels almost like a procedural, like espionage kind of The Wire with superheroes, or something like that type of tone. So I get that it's not as whimsical as WandaVision is on the surface, but like that conflict with Wanda, I felt was, I'm like that I felt that. I feel that deeper than I feel Sam's conflict in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the whole identity thing of living up to a legacy is connecting with me more than I did WandaVision. Don't get me wrong, I liked WandaVision a lot, and I agree with what you're saying, but I think that the identity and dealing and living up to a legacy, because we all have that. Like, you wonder, how can you live up to someone else's shoes, even our own parents sometimes. How can I live up to be like my dad or better than my dad, or how can you carry on a legacy, your family legacy, or whatever it is. I think that's nice that these two shows offered two completely different central conflicts to wrap around, and depending on what you're going through in life at this time, you might prefer one over the other, or you might gravitate to one more than the other.
Yeah, I think Eric kind of nailed it. WandaVision was more entertaining and compelling. Falcon Winter Soldier was more mainstream news coverage.
It's well said.
So, Travis, are you watching Invincible?
I am. I didn't watch this new episode this week, but I binge watched the first, was it 5 last week. And I had read that first. I know Kyle's a big Invincible fan for the comics. I read that first volume years ago when it came out, and it didn't strike me enough to continue on with it. So I wasn't excited for the show to come out, but I think the show's really. I find the show really well done, and it's hard not to like it with all that voice talent cameo. Like, you just hear all these people that are a part of so much of it, and I've found myself pretty engrossed with it, actually.
Are you watching it solo?
I'm not. I'm gonna wait until it's all done, and then I will binge watch it in one fell swoop and keep it cheap.
There you go. What about you, Kyle? Are you caught up on it?
I'm not caught up yet. I had to catch up on Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I'm kind of wishing I didn't.
Is it just me, or is each episode a complete story arc, Travis, and Invincible? Because that's kind of what it feels like. Like, it's dealing with, like, each episode is dealing with a different story arc, because it kind of like jumps around from my knowledge of remembering the comic.
Yeah, it does feel kind of bottle episodes, doesn't it? Where you get that sense of it. There is that continuing, I guess the continuing storyline would be what's going on with his dad and what's going on with that, but you have these little mini arcs in there. But yeah, I find that it's done really well, and they're hanging. I don't know Invincible enough. I don't know what that mystery is behind it. I don't remember any of that book, really. So I find that that's very compelling for me to keep watching it. I like the dynamics. Zukas, Zukas is great as who's like the name of the character who is the brash member of the team. Not Hot Rod. He's in the orange.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, really great seeing that on there. It's weird because Invincible on surface seems just like another deconstruction of the superhero, right? Taking it into the domestic life of superheroes and the behind the scenes of a superhero. But, Kirkman's in there, and you get his dialogue and his plot connections, and it makes it interesting. I don't think it's breaking new ground, but I think I like this animation. The animation, I think, is done really well in this, as it doesn't feel as anime as some of the DC stuff can feel like when you see it on there. So I do like that. Some of the music needle drops are a little I don't know if I like them. It feels very 90s. It feels like someone is a big fan of 90s alternative music, and it has that kind of vibe to it. But yeah, I find myself, I'm looking forward to, after we're done here, to go watch the next episode, actually.
That's interesting. Gigi Maxwell says, I fear that like Invincible will be one of those streaming shows everyone forgets about in a year. I don't know. It's been really good, but it's not a lot of people are talking about it. Like,
it's true. Yeah.
Let's see how they, but
I think Disney's just cornering the market right now.
Yeah, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is definitely the bigger draw right now and grasping people's attention more.
Don't forget about those Mighty Ducks as well.
Yes, the Mighty Ducks.
Well, and there's a bunch of Star Wars stuff coming out here soon, and it's just
nobody cares about Star Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars, you guys can get all that information tomorrow on your Star Wars show.
Yes.
Solo, I never watched any of the cartoons, and I finally started watching Rebels, and I think I'm like like a season and a half into Rebels, and it took me a while to get, because I hate that animation style. Yeah. But once you get rid of that, your imagination fills in the gaps, and it's pretty good. It's pretty entertaining.
It's good. And I had the same problem when it first came out. It was easily 2 years after it was out before I accepted, because I tried it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I watched maybe 2-3 episodes of Rebels, and I was like, I can't do it. And then I went back and revisited, and it's like, all right, I have to power through this. You know, I want to do it. I got to do it. This is going to be a good story. And I know that the story is relevant and good. Once you get into about 6 or 7, you start getting involved enough in the story that the animation kind of goes away, and then you become more accepting of the animation.
Yeah.
Because the story's so good, and because
you convince yourself the animation is working. Yeah.
Well, and they start to do more around 7 and 8 where the animation plays into the story. But that first, 2 or 3, you're just like, man, I don't know if I can do it. But it's good. After you watch them all, it's like, man, that was really good. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm looking forward to
exactly
finishing that up.
Yeah, it's good. I think you'll enjoy it.
But all right, guys, fire chat as always tonight. Thanks for everyone for hanging out. Had a great time, great interview. Thank you, Elliott, for joining us and gracing us with your presence and talking to us about your fantastic book, Maniac of New York. Travis, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you again, find your podcast, get a little bit more.
I'll just push. I'll just push the podcast, so you can go. The podcasts are Comic Exposure. If you like talk about comic trades, we've done major runs on just about the most major runs on any book. So if you've read something recently that's pretty epic, then we've probably done a podcast. So look back at comicexposure.com or go into iTunes or Spotify. Or if you like movies are more your thing, and books and music, then check out Pop Bonsai, popbonsai.com. We're currently looking at coming of age stories in film and literature and music. So check that out.
Sweet.
Awesome. And if you guys have not gotten enough comics and have not scratched that comic itch, make sure to check out all the fantastic shows on the Tales from the Flipside channel. If you need a little Star Wars, you guys can check Solo, Marco, and the whole Star Wars crew tomorrow night for the Star Wars show. If you need a little bit more market report, you can check out Nico, Comic Book Jesus, Brian, and the boys on Monday night with the flagship Tales from the Flipside show. Check out Comic Book Women if you need a little bit catching up on your weekly readers and your new release stuff. Check out Ultra's show on Wednesday and all the great content on the Tales from the Flipside network. And on that note,